Okay, here we are. Here we are. Welcome, everyone. We're starting the show off with Cheese gifting 10 memberships right before the show starts. Shout out to Cheese and shout out to everyone who was gifted a membership by Cheese. But hello, Pen. Hello, Chill. How are you guys doing? How have you guys been since I last seen you guys?
I'm ready to talk about the Clippers.
Yes, the Clippers indeed. That is what we are going to talk about. For anyone who missed out, the Clippers did beat the NBA's #1 record, Cleveland Cavaliers, yesterday. It was a vintage Kawhi showing. He showed up. He's been slowly but surely. It looks like he might be figuring some things out. I feel I know what the answer is going to be here, but I'm obligated to ask. With this apparent version of Kawhi that we've seen the last 4 or 5 games, and James Harden turning back the clock, looking pretty good over since the All-Star break, and Zubac playing like one of the best centers in the NBA, and Norman Powell, and everything the Clippers got, are they a legitimate threat in the Western Conference and then beyond that for an NBA championship? I'm gonna start with you, Pen. Are they a legitimate threat?
Yes.
Yeah,
this team is awesome. Like I realize there aren't a lot of Clipper fans. I realize that. Even in LA, there aren't a lot of Clipper fans. It's Diplo, it's Billy Crystal, and I don't know a third Clipper fan. So it's not going to win a lot of favor with the chat, but I got to say what this team has been doing this year is really special, right? They have gotten the best out of all their pieces. They're getting the best of Norman Powell. They're getting the best of Chris Dunn. They're getting the best of Nicholas Batum. They're getting the best out of Amir Coffey. And now they're getting the best out of Bogdan Bogdanovic. They're getting the best out of Ben Simmons. And they are also now getting the best out of their 2 remaining star players, like legit star players. And that's Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. There's a big credit to Ty Lue, big credit to their coaching staff. And yeah, I think, most teams that end up going on like big championship runs, they tend to have that in common. They get the most out of their pieces.
Sure.
A lot of that has to do with their defense. James Harden mentioned it earlier in the season that this is the best defensive team that he's played on, and I think a lot of that has to do with their perimeter defense. Zubac's been one of the best glass cleaners in the league. I have not given him enough credit for that. I think he's steadily been top 3 in the league in rebounding. Last night he went 20 and 20 against my guy, Evan Mobley. He got busy against him. The question with the Clippers has always been health, more than anything. With the holes that they've had, it's always been, can Kawhi Leonard hold up? I don't see that burst that he used to have, but I'll see stretches of it where he can still get to spots. I think Leonard has been a lot craftier since his injury, and like watching him last night, his ability to create space in stretches is still there, and I like that about him. And it's melancholy, to be quite honest with you, because it's so what if, like, damn, man, I wish I could have gotten this from him for 4 or 5 years in a row, only except he's broken down. And unfortunately, I know how this movie ends. I don't want it to end like that. I really want to watch Kawhi Leonard turn back the clock and be the elite offensive player, the elite scorer that he is. I really would like to see that, only except I've seen this movie before and I know how it ends. I really hope it doesn't end like that, because he, for all intents and purposes, has been really good. Over the last 9 games, he's 23 and 6 over the last 9 games, shooting 40 at the long ball line. Last night, and I found this out with Jason Tatum, when you have the best defensive player on the other team, you make a conscious effort to go after him. And they were hunting last night, specifically Evan Mobley, hunting that matchup with Kawhi Leonard. They were going after him to get him hunted on him, off the strength that they know that there wasn't going to be much help, which there wasn't. There was a lot of one-on-one action between Kawhi Leonard and Evan Mobley, and it worked. I thought Evan Mobley did a good job on the rest of those guys. I thought he did a good job guarding James Harden from time to time. I don't think he did a good job in the post with Zubac, and that's off the strength of James Harden. I feel like getting him open and making plays for him, I thought he did a good job at that. But this Clipper team, I mean, I don't want to overreact. Mars, they're still in 8th place. It's not like they've moved up to 5th or 6th. They're in 8th place in the Western Conference still. And if the season ended today, they have to see Minnesota in the play-in tournament. So they could very well they could very well miss the playoffs. But I also can recognize that, this team has been really good. And from a talent standpoint, they could make some noise if they could stay healthy. I got to see it. I do. I have to see it.
Well, I think the 8th place thing, I mean, the context is obvious. Kawhi hasn't played the whole year, and they were playing with James Harden, Norman Powell, and Zoo just kind of shouldering the offensive burden, and they're just trying to stay above water. I think everyone agrees that the only way they could be contenders is if you have a Kawhi that is anything like the Kawhi we remembered from last year, even. But I think it's also fair to say they're probably better than the 8th best team in the West. It's just they haven't been whole. And I don't know where they would be slotted if you had a healthy Kawhi the whole year. Maybe they're a top 5 team. I don't know what the standards would look like. But I do think when you have an elite defense, which the Clippers definitely do, Swipe has said, like, around the All-Star break that Zoo should have been an All-Star or was in that conversation. And I disagreed. Based on just impact, Zoo has a very strong case that he's an All-Star caliber player, like a very strong case. This Clippers team without him is dysfunctional. Because he's like the only person on the team who can reliably get rebounds. He's like their only reliable interior presence. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league. Like, you add all of that together, this team needs Zoo. So if it's off impact alone, Zoo isn't like he's around that All-Star level. So I guess I'm crediting Swiper.
Who's backing up? Who's backing up Zubac, by the way? Right.
Drew
See,
Eubanks.
so I mean, there's a huge drop off. I mean, you guys. We talk about VORP all the time. I wonder what Zubac's VORP is, considering what he does for that team, rebounding and rim protecting and scoring around the rim. When they take him off the floor and Eubanks comes on the floor, whether it's for 10 minutes, whether Zubac is in foul trouble, I wonder what the drop off is. That's huge. That's not a yeah. So, I mean, to look at the standings right now. So if you got Oklahoma City at 1, Houston at 2, Denver at 3, Lakers at 4, Memphis at 5, Golden State at 6, Minnesota at 7. Of those 7 teams, who are the Clippers better than in terms of the top 5? OKC, Houston, Denver, Lakers, Memphis, with Leonard healthy. In your estimation, with Leonard healthy,
Houston and Memphis for sure, in my opinion.
And what makes them better than you guys, Mars?
2 elite defenses, one that has an elite rim protector that the Rockets does not, and then they have more reliable players in the half court offensively, whether that be James Harden, Kawhi, Norman Powell, or even just having Zoo down there. The Rockets just don't have that reliable half court offensive creator or scorer. So I think that's what gives them the edge between 2 elite defensive teams. And then with the Grizzlies, I think their offense is I think the Memphis Grizzlies offense is more catered towards the regular season in terms of the way they play. And I don't think that what should be their best offensive player is maximized. And I also think Jaren Jackson is just not a great matchup I think Zoo is not a great matchup for Jaren Jackson in terms of the way Jaren Jackson likes to play in terms of getting downhill with his little left-hand hook shots and all of those type of things. I think Zoo's physicality can really bother him in that regard. So I think they're just a bad matchup for those 2 teams. And I also think Memphis's depth is not going to be as valuable in a postseason setting. So that's why I think they're better than those teams. The Lakers, Nuggets, and OKC. OKC is just not in this conversation. The Lakers and Nuggets, I would probably favor them over the Clippers, but I wouldn't be crazy shocked if they were able to beat them in a series.
I would give you guys the edge on defense off the strength of how you guys play collectively. I think when we get down into the stretch of the game, we get in the middle of the third quarter, we get in the first 6 minutes in the fourth, and we need buckets. I think that's where it may get a little trickier because Kawhi Leonard, him being able to score willingly, him being able to get to spots. James Harden doesn't get to the rim like he used to, but he can still get to the rim. James Harden can still knock down an open shot. The thing I'm thinking about is a guy like Amen Thompson. Could he wear down James Harden? Could he stay out of foul trouble, knowing how James Harden is as a guy who can draw fouls, knowing how good Kawhi Leonard is as a guy getting to his spots? I think playing against a guy like Steven Adams, I think he could wear down. Well, the problem is Steven Adams isn't going to play much. I think he's going to play, but I don't think he's going to play much if Sengun can rely on that mid-range and drag Zubac away from the basket a little bit more, I think that would help Houston tremendously. If we saw you guys, if Houston saw the Clippers in the playoff series, Mars, I think I'm looking at a 6-7 game dogfight. I am, off the strength that I think that you guys could win a game or two just off of defense alone, because the shot volume of James Harden at the long ball line and the lack of long ball shooting and how good you guys defended the 3-point line, I think that could be I think that could be a benefit to you guys. But in terms of the other teams in the Western Conference, when I look at them, I don't think that there's much separation. But I mean, how often are we going to see the 8 seed make a deep run into the playoffs? We just seen Miami do it. Before Miami did it, I mean, how often are we going to see an 8 seed, especially to your point, Mars, a Western Conference that's very difficult? I mean, how often are we going to see a 8 seed make a deep run in the playoffs?
Here's the thing. I saw this clip with Tim Legler, and he was talking about how if you're a higher seed and you're ducking or afraid of a lower seed, then you ought to be fired, and you're a coward, and you're all this. All 8 seeds and all 7 seeds are not created equal.
They are not.
First of all. Number two, the playoffs are all about matchups and momentum. It really doesn't matter who you face. It matters when you face them. Teams don't ebb and flow at the same time. I think that this Clippers team has geared everything towards the playoffs. They've made moves to integrate new pieces at the deadline with just enough time. They've brought in really smart players. I feel like court mapping is something that just goes very underrated in the NBA. It's not something that you can necessarily measure with a number, but what I would say is you know it when you see it. Players
stay right there.
Know how to play the game.
Court mapping. Can you expand on court mapping a little bit? Because I want to make sure I'm following you when you talk about court mapping.
So an example would come from yesterday, right? It was James Harden catches the ball. He's slightly angled off center. Kawhi Leonard is probably about 12 feet away from him. And you see James start to angle right for a drive, and you see the defense start to shift. And as he does that, Kawhi Leonard slips to the corner, and James Harden takes one dribble and whips it across. That's 2 players. That's not a set play. That's just 2 players understanding what's happening and reading the defense. That's court mapping. It's understanding how those other 9 pieces are moving. And you just have a lot of really smart basketball players here. There's not one dumb basketball player that plays for the Los Angeles Clippers. Not one. There's not one player who's consistently confused about how to read a coverage. There's not one player who I feel is consistently confused defensively. And you could say Leonard isn't what he used to be defensively. And I'll agree with you, but he can get there. Right. I feel like yesterday I saw a bouncier Kawhi Leonard. A little bit. Just a little bit of that.
More energy.
A little bit more
energy.
A little bit more burst. And if I can go back to something that Mars said probably like 3 months ago, it just stuck with me. You know, certain things Mars says, you know, they stick. And this is one of them. And he said, what if the Clippers know that they can only get this much Kawhi every year? Well, now that means that this is basically Kawhi's like 4th or 5th week. We're ramping up. If you can only get this many months of him every single year, and you know this internally based on, you know, you have the data on his injury, and you have all his medicals, and you're like, hey, 5-6 months, that's all he can do. Or 4 or 5 months, that's all he can do. So you ramp him up. That means the best of Kawhi is yet to come. Now, of course, it could all fall apart. You can get injured, whatever. But I'm seeing a team that is locked into defense. I'm seeing a team that isn't exactly playing above its head. We got Chris Dunn taking half his shots from 3, and he's making less than 30% of them. And he's still hella impactful. We've seen a team that's starting Amir Coffey, and they're still winning basketball games. And this team is 16-10 with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
But what Kawhi Leonard have we seen so far versus what Kawhi Leonard will we see in the playoffs? This could be a very different equation when we get to the playoffs.
Mars made an interesting.
Imagine that. Kawhi Leonard ramping up, playing his best basketball in the middle of March.
Yeah, we actually had a conversation about 3 months ago, and Mars went over how the Clippers were handling Kawhi Leonard. And my counter to that was, Mars has already made it clear, which I think was a great theory, The idea that the Clippers know that we're only going to get this amount of time out of him. We already know that. So it doesn't make any sense for us to load manage him in November, December, and January. It doesn't make any sense for us to do that. Well, the closer we get to the playoffs, that's when we should start managing him more. So January. So when did he get back in the lineup? In February, I think it was, when he got back into the lineup. Early February is when he got back into the lineup. And it looks like, like I told you, the last 9 games, he's averaging 23 a game. I think in 23 a game and 6 rebounds on pretty good efficiency. Kawhi Leonard's always been an efficient guy. The thing that I was concerned with, and I'm still concerned with, and I got to see it, is when we get to the playoffs, like you just mentioned, Penn, ramping up. When we ramp him up, how much time do I, because again, the playoffs, today is the 19th of March. The playoffs start in a month.
He's been playing since January, Cho.
Has it been that long? I thought it was February.
January 4th was his first game.
It
was the beginning of January.
January 4th.
He's been back for about 2.5 months ish.
But it's been a lot of stop and go.
Right? Well, he came back on a minutes restriction. He didn't play above 25 minutes for like his first 7 games.
5 games.
Then he didn't play above 30 minutes until like his 10th or 11th game. And now, like, since that point, he's been playing 30. And we're really starting to see like the last 6-7 games where he's looking Kawhi-ish in terms of scoring. Not Kawhi.
Y'all don't get scared now.
Ain't nobody scared. Nobody.
It's too late. It's too late for that shit. Don't get scared now.
Nobody afraid. I just want to. What I want to see is I want to see it come, because that's what this dude has been on this team for the last 5 years. That's why he got on the crew. So by the time we get to the playoffs, and now we got to turn it up. And then when we get deeper into the playoffs, we got to turn it up even more. Kawhi Leonard is not a player that we're just going to be able to just manage and turn him up slowly. No, you could fall 3-1 in the playoff series, and now we're in deep trouble. And then we're going to also have series or games where Leonard might have to play 35, 40 minutes. And he might have to do that in back-to-back games. He might have to do that in a bunch of different games. Can he hold up? And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the playoffs. What I've seen over the last 5 years is that he can't. And that's the thing that I'm worried about. I'm not concerned with his game. I have never been concerned with his game. Kawhi Leonard could score it with the best of them. Kawhi, even as not the elite defender that he used to be, Kawhi Leonard could still stay in front of people. His hands still stay busy. I'm thinking about when we get to the playoffs and we got Houston in round 1. We got the Lakers in round 1. And now, which would help them, to be quite honest, because we ain't got to worry about traveling. They're right across the other side. They're on the other side of town. So we ain't got to worry about getting on a plane and sleeping in a hotel or anything like that. What I'm thinking is when we got to play the Lakers in round 1, or we got to play Houston, or to your point, Mars, Memphis in round 1, and we're not going to need Leonard for 25, 30 minutes. That's not going to be enough because we're not going to smoke these guys. I don't think that we're going to smoke these guys. I think that we're going to need him for 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes some nights. Is he going to be able to hold up? That's the $1 million question.
Guess how many minutes he played last night?
I think
like
he played
40.
I think he played 40 last night.
36 maybe. 36.
He played 35.
Close enough.
Yep.
He's had his 2 best games back to back now. Charlotte, Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So we can say Charlotte is Charlotte. You could also say Cleveland is Cleveland. Literally played the worst team in the league and the best team in the league on back-to-back games. Didn't matter. It can't stay in front of him. When he gets to that mid-range, it doesn't matter if you put Evan Mobley on him. It doesn't matter. If it's LaMelo or Mobley, it doesn't make a difference because he's going to get to his spot.
Yep.
And when he gets that burst going, it's game over. And here's the thing. I feel like when the Clippers first got Kawhi, it was on a pretty like depth depleted roster. You know, they got rid of a lot of their depth to get, Paul George.
Yep.
And I feel like they found a different way to build around him. They still have a second star, but instead of that third star, what they've done is they've added a bevy of like really solid role players who just understand how to play hoop. And it's not like those role players aren't capable of going off for 30. They could all go off for 30.
Norman Powell could get busy at any point. Yes, he could. 100%.
Yeah, he totally can.
Chris Dunn could give me 20 out the blue. That could happen. I could get 20.
I wouldn't hold my breath, but
you could get it. I mean, I just saw Obi Toppin hit 7 threes. So it's not ridiculous to think that Chris Dunn can't get me in a playoff series and give me 20. And give me not for the whole series, but a game. I don't think that's ridiculous.
It's just what they say, a star in your role. You don't need stars. You need stars in your role, right?
Yep.
Chris Dunn is a star in his role.
Yep.
He is a perfect role player. Like there was so many great, guard screeners, like legit guards who can set solid screens on bigs are very rare. Very rare. It's one of my big things that I used to love about a dude like Kyle Lowry. He used to do that all the time. Chris Dunn can do that.
Kawhi Leonard hit a 3 last night, and it was one of those shoulder dropping threes. It was on the left wing on the break, and Evan Mobley was switched on to him, and he had him faced up. And in the process of having him faced up, I want to say it was it wasn't Zoo. It was I want to say it was Coffee who came over to set up. It was almost like a soft screen, and Leonard looked the screen off and just cracked the 3. And it was and I was like, damn, he hitting that right there, boy. You got trouble. You got serious trouble. And Evan Mobley, for all intents and purposes, was doing as good a job as he possibly could do against Leonard. He was doing as much as he could. He had a hand in his face when he was spinning off of him. He was in his face when he was shooting shots. He just couldn't. My offense was better than your defense. That's what that was last night. More than anything, my offense was better than your defense.
Is that a shock though? I don't think that's a shock. I think dudes like I said last year about Jason Tatum. I think like guys like Jason Tatum and Kawhi are supposed to get at Evan Mobley. Like I don't think that's not a big, I don't think that's a big deal. What I mean?
I don't think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you, Ox. I mean, that's what happens when you're your team best defender. You're not going to get a lot of help, which Mobley didn't get a lot of help last night. He's their best defender, so it was a lot of one-on-one coverage between him and Kawhi Leonard, which it looked like it was a mistake. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am the best defender, and I do have a lot of pride. But it's okay to ask that. Yo, can you help me out with this dude? It's all right to ask that. It's not above me to go, yo, I mean, I'm having some trouble with him. Can you help me out with him? And I think that to Cleveland's detriment, I mean, they did leave Mobley by himself more than they should have. I think that there could have been more double teams to get the ball out of Kawhi Leonard's hands last night.
So Mobley needs help with Kawhi. He needs help with Norman Powell.
Last night he
needs help with James Harden. He needs help with Ivica Zubac.
I don't know about that. I don't know about James Harden. I thought he did a good job on James Harden last night.
Oh, you didn't see that blow by?
Hey, that's what we do, man. That's what we do. That's what we do.
You didn't see that little left, right. Where'd he go? Where'd he go?
But I also saw him stay in front of him and challenge shots. And James Harden had some
Evan
shots
Mobley
that
was
short.
so confused.
I did see that.
Chill. Evan Mobley was so confused about where James Harden was. He had me confused about where James Harden was. He looked lost.
That's what we do. You're the best isolation player ever. You're gonna do that. It's just a regular occurrence. But I think what part of that was trolling?
James Harden is not the best isolation player ever. No, he isn't. But go ahead, Mom.
No, he is, and I'm not trolling about that. We can disagree. That's fine. I'm not trolling when I say he's the best isolation player ever.
Okay, we disagree.
But
no problem.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing for Kawhi is obviously he's not going to get to the rim like 2017 Kawhi. That's not going to happen. But if he his touch hasn't been the greatest since he's been back. If he gets back and he's getting 2 feet in the paint and he's making floaters or he's making turnarounds from 8 to 12 feet, he gets that back, then you're at the point where, you can't stop Kawhi from anywhere. And I disagree when Penn said no one can stay in front of him. I think they can stay in front of him. I just think he can shoot over them.
That was Mobley last night.
Yeah, Mobley, I don't think there's a problem with, can we keep Kawhi in front? Yeah, you keep Kawhi in front. But if he gets to where he wants to go, which is what you can't stop him from doing, he can make the shot.
Yeah.
It's never been about, Kawhi's going to blow by us and get an easy one. It's like, we're going to stay in front of Kawhi, but he's going to create enough space and be where he wants to be to where he can make the shots.
It's the half step. It's the half step, though. But it's
the slightest advantage. It's the slightest advantage.
But see, that's the thing. You don't need that much of an advantage when you can stop on a dime and pull up from everywhere like Kawhi can, right?
You don't stop, elevate easy.
Exactly, but he don't even need to elevate that much because he can pull it back. He got the reach. He's got the wingspan. He's got the size. He's got those big shoulders, right? So he could even bump you a little bit. And now he's got 2 feet. Guess how much he needs? He needs a foot.
Yeah,
and he got extra space.
He's 6'6" too. Don't leave that part out. He ain't a small dude neither. He's 6'6", so that helps.
Allegedly, yeah. I mean, he looks big as hell, but yes, 6'6", 6'7", whatever you want to say, 7'2", 7'3" wingspan, and he just has like that great balance and an understanding of where you are, versus where he is.
Mhm.
And then all he needs is that little one step, and it's like you're a little bit off balance, and you think you're with him, and then he just stops. And it's too late. It's too late. At that point, it's too late. His release is too quick.
Mhm. I thought that the Clippers did a good job on Donovan Mitchell last night too, forcing him into really tough shots and making him make decisions quicker than he would like. Donovan Mitchell is one of those players that, like, when he gets the ball on the wing, he likes to survey the defense, and he likes to take his time when it comes to shooting, when it comes to looking for shooters, when it comes to getting to the rim. He knows when to go quick. But with a defense like the Clippers, I felt like they rushed him and they made him take shots that he wasn't accustomed to taking. I felt like they forced him into passes that he wasn't accustomed to making. And I thought his shot creation last night was definitely off. And that was largely due to the Clippers defense. I think the Clippers I think they did a great job overall as a defensive team. And rebounding, I mean, as much as I talk about Evan Mobley as a rebounder, as much as I talk about Jared Allen as a rebounder, they got dominated last night by Zoo. They didn't get dominated by the Clippers. They got dominated by Zoo. He was pushing those guys, throwing those guys all around the paint last night, and destroyed those guys. He was fantastic on the glass. That was one of the biggest reasons why they won that basketball game last night. So, and on top of that, I think the Clippers have now beaten the Cavs 7 of the last 8 times that they played them. Something like that. They own them.
Yeah, Kawhi averages 32 against those guys. But when you see the rebound from Zubac though, and he's just so big and strong, and like he's working early. Like it's not like Jared Allen's just watching him. Jared Allen was trying to fight with him, but Zubac hit him first. You know what I'm saying? Like when on that rebound, it's so important to work early. And Zubac is hitting him as the ball goes up, not wasting any time watching the ball. He's hitting him. He's looking up. He's holding him off, and there's nothing Jared Allen can do about it. It's just. It's I don't know. I love watching Zubac play when he's in that mode, just being super aggressive, and there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing you could do about it. Jared Allen is trying, but he's out. He's just too strong, and just he already got the position on him. You know, like those things change games. I've been actually one that I'm happy you're here too, Pim, because you three are the perfect people for me to ask this question to. Like, what is the percentage of games won when the team wins? The rebounding, but particularly like the offensive rebounding. There's a couple of things on like offensive rebounding, turnovers, fast break points, stuff like that. I'm very curious to know, like, what was the percentage of wins when the team leads in those categories? Like offensive rebounding to me is so important.
Yeah,
I'll look out for you. I think. Hey, didn't you have Zoo's rebounds and assists last night?
I believe so.
That definitely hit for you, right? That definitely hit.
He went for 20 boards last night, Ox.
Yeah, I don't even know how many assists he got, but I know just a
20
rebounds
boards
alone.
last night.
He made a little bit of history last night.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I had him for 11. He had 20.
Yeah, 20 boards last night.
Do you know that Ivica Zubac is the only player to have a 2020 game with 70% field goal shooting on his birthday in NBA history?
How many guys have done that?
Yeah. Wait, he's the only player to, huh?
One more time.
2020 game
Okay.
with over 70% field goal percentage on his birthday.
Oh, so one of them ESPN stats. Shout out to Zoo. Happy birthday, man. Shout out to Zoo. Happy birthday.
Definitely ESPN LeBron stat.
And Ox, to your point, it wasn't dirty neither. Like,
sorry, over 60% shooting. My bad.
Oh,
right.
Nah, I'm not even over 7. Yeah.
Damn, my bad. Over 60% shooting. So
it wasn't dirty neither.
But I mean, it wasn't like a 21 and 20 game. He had 20.
It was almost a 30 and 20 game he went for.
Yesterday.
He went almost 30 and 20. But to your point, it wasn't dirty neither. Like a lot of times when you see rebounders, like there's some dirt involved in it. His technique last night, slipping Jared Allen, pushing him underneath the basket, burying him underneath the basket, getting him out of position to rebound, and Evan Mobley now behind him, and he can't do anything about that. That's when your guards. When you got a guy like Zubac on the glass like that, that's where Donovan Mitchell, that's where Strus, that's where all of these guys have to come in. I remember watching the Spurs and the Lakers in the semifinals in 2003, and I remember Pop saying, David Robinson and Tim Duncan, these guys got their hands full with that guy underneath. You guys need to get your ass in here and rebound, which is a fact because both Duncan and Robinson, they got to deal with Shaq. Okay, Ginobili, Bruce Bowen, Tony Parker. Yo, y'all got to get in there and help him rebound because they can't do it by themselves. Not against Zubac. Last night, I thought that they could have done a better job in helping those two guys rebound. No doubt about that. They could have done a better job in that.
Yeah, you definitely got a gang rebound with a guy like that down there.
Yes.
You know, he's being a complete demon.
Okay. I got two very, very big announcements to make. These are huge. These are enormous. Okay. Now, I made a lot of controversy for where I put Kobe Bryant in my top 15 all time. Yep. I got to tell you, I've been watching a lot more Kobe Bryant lately. A lot. From the perspective of not, 12, 13-year-old Penn, but, mature 30-something-year-old Penn with a little bit of gray hair. And I got to tell you, he's moved up at least 2 spots from watching him play. Got a lot more appreciation for Kobe being Bryant.
He's above the Arvidas Sabonis talks now.
Relax, Mars. Relax.
I mean, they still in the same conversation, but he has definitely moved up at least 2 spots from wherever he was. If he was 14th, he's now 12th. If he was 12th, he's now 10th. So he's moved up. There is a certain panelist who has moved down in my all-time panelist rankings, though, and that is Gifted Hoops.
Oh, his Scotty Barnes shenanigans.
I cannot imagine what I just listened to. Herb Jones and Trey Murphy starting over Scotty Barnes. Not bringing up RJ Barrett. Yes, it is that bad, Mars. It is that insane. It is that crazy.
He wants
to be talking about CJ McCollum and not talking about RJ Barrett. You must be nuts. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say.
He wanted some shooting around his star player, and Scotty Barnes just isn't good enough to justify that. But you think Gifted lost? Long story short, you think Gifted lost yesterday?
I think he lost the second he said that. Renegade asked me like,
"Do
I have your vote?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll give you 10 votes if I had a vote. I'll give you 10. I'll give you all 10 of them."
Chill. This right here is why Penn could never be the judge on the PCL because he cannot overlook something like that. It's not. It doesn't matter what else Gifted said. The fact that he's not starting Scotty Barnes, that's it for all 3 rounds.
He didn't even bring him up until his second paragraph. He's like, yeah, the Pelicans and the Raptors. I got Zion. I got what was the second name he brought up? Jakob Poeltl. I'm pretty sure Jakob Poeltl was the second goddamn name.
Respect Jakob Poeltl, yeah.
No, I will not respect Jakob Poeltl. Mars.
But for the record, Penn, it is 70% because it's not over 60% because Shaq shot almost 69% on his birthday. And he was 60 and 20.
It was 70%?
It is.
Oh, my bad. It is 70%. You know, I'm so stupid. I was reading the effective field goal percentage. He shot 62.6 effective field goal percentage. So it's over 60% effective field goal percentage because Shaq probably would have lost some points for his free throws. Over 70%. My bad. So
that was against the Clippers, right?
That was against the Clippers. Oh,
there we go.
Yeah. So Zoo did it against Roll Comp. So you got to boost that as well. The Clippers back then.
Was Michael? Was it?
Hey, Mars, respect Keith Kloss, please, Mars.
Was it Michael?
I don't even think Keith Kloss played. Like, even if I wanted to respect Keith Kloss,
he was on the floor. Keith Kloss and Anthony Avans.
I don't think he played. I don't think Keith Kloss played because I think I remember watching that game. I don't remember seeing Keith Kloss, but maybe it was just I was too busy watching Shaq destroy. But
Mars back, back in those days, Mars, it wasn't beautiful 4K, so y'all know y'all eyes can't adjust to that.
I'm pretty sure
it was a little fuzzy. It was a little fuzzy for y'all eyes, man.
I'm wrong. I'm fine.
He
with
shot
that.
13 for 18 last night. That's 72%. Okay, yeah, it is 70%. My bad.
Mike,
okay, I had it right the first time.
Mars is Mike. Is that true? Did Keith Kloss come up here and cook you that time?
Keith Kloss came up. Keith Kloss came up here. He was agreeing with me. He wasn't cooking. Cooking.
Yeah, I remember when he pulled up. I just couldn't remember if you got cooked or not by Keith.
Oh, I did not. But yeah, I don't think Keith Kloss played in that game. I think he actually spoke about that and said he didn't play in that game. I'm pretty sure he didn't play. I remember seeing Pete Chilcutt out there, but
Pete Chilcutt was on the floor. I do remember him.
I don't remember seeing Keith Kloss though. But we do have a couple super chats pertaining to this game. One from MP13 said the Cavs looked really small on the court for some reason. They seemed bothered by how physical Dunn and Zoo were with them last night. Did the Cavs look small? Did they shy away from the physicality that the Clippers brought?
When you are at that physical, it kind of shrinks you. And if I'm being honest, since we are being honest, Zoo did make Evan Mobley look small last night. He did. He made him look less than last night. Jared Allen, on the other hand, he didn't look as small, but he the way he was pushing Mobley around in the paint, he made him look small. And I don't mean just from a height standpoint. He just overpowered those guys, and he was way more dominant than they were. Way more.
Is that a concern for you?
Yes,
or is just
100% it is.
So does this Clippers team remind you at all of the 3 8 seeds that have maybe most prominently made a run? And that would be the We Believe Warriors, the 99 Knicks, and the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler that upset the Bucks. Is there anything that reminds you of, like those 4 teams? Do you see any overlaps? I'm seeing some, but I'm curious if you've seen any.
Well, that Knicks team, I feel like they were a lot more athletic with Marcus Camby and
Latrell,
Allen Houston, and Latrell Sprewell. I think they were a lot more athletic. Defensively, I don't think that there's a gap. I think that those two teams are pretty close in terms of gap. Pretty close in terms of defense. That Heat team.
There is also a common dude on the bench.
Oh, Van Gundy.
Mr. Jeff Van Gundy is
Van Gundy
right there on the bench.
He is on that. He's on that Clipper staff. Yes, he is 100%. Yeah,
I bet he's lulling them to sleep every night with stories about back in '99 we did this shit.
that Heat team, in terms of talent, I think they're better than them. I think they with buckets.
With the Clippers are better or the Heat are better?
I think from a talent standpoint, I think the Clippers are better. I do.
Okay.
I think for what they have overall, I think they have more talent than the Miami Heat. Let's see, the Miami Heat, the Knicks, and that Golden State Warriors team.
There is one thing that I think that all 4 teams have that basketball cannot measure. You know what it is?
No, I don't.
It's the dog factor.
And I think that Golden State team had it. And
B. Diddy, that's dog. Okay. Latrell Sprewell, dog. Kawhi, dog. Jimmy Buckets, dog. You need a dog. If you're going to beat the odds, you're going to beat a team 4 times, like on the road, you better have some dog. I swear to God.
Are y'all saying the Clippers can beat OKC in the first round?
I don't know about OKC. But
they need the 7th seed. That's what I'm saying.
But if they can get to the
7th
seed.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think they could do it. I really do.
And
I'm not a Memphis hater at all. I love the Memphis Grizzlies. I think Ja got another level in the playoffs. I just think like this, we really do not properly assess how good the Western Conference is this year. From like 3 to 7, 3 to 9, it's a really good. I mean, you needed Wemby to.
We actually ran that. We did though. We did, Penn. We ran down the difference between the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference from, I think, 1 to 6. We actually ran it down, and we recognize how I recognize how good the Western Conference is and how much better the Eastern Conference is at the top. So, I mean, from like 1 to maybe 6. Yeah, from 1 to 6.
You know how good the Western Conference is. Let me put it this way: the team from 6 to 12. Team from 6 to 12 in the Western Conference all make the playoffs in the East. Am I lying?
No.
The Blazers are 12, right?
Yeah, the Blazers.
They'd be in the play-in for sure.
Yeah, they got the same record.
When I say playoffs, sorry, that's why
we need that 1 through 16. We got to get to that 1 through 16 sooner than later. Adam Silver, make it happen. Hey, real quick though, guys, let me jump in real quick. Let's get to some housekeeping real quick, and we can move on with what we're doing. Just want to remind y'all that this show is sponsored by PrizePicks, where you can run your game, play $5 and get 50 back instantly. Use code PANEL. Today we got some quick picks. We'll get in and get out the way. Let's start with We took the Jalen Green less against the Orlando Magic. He has 21.5 points to get. We took OG Anunoby over rebounds and assists against the San Antonio Spurs. And as you know, today we will be on Playback after the PCL doing the Denver Nuggets versus Los Angeles Lakers. So we threw a couple picks in from that game as well. Aaron Gordon, we took more than 5.5 rebounds, and Luka Doncic less than 31.5 points. These are your prize picks today. Go ahead and copy them, and when we hit, make sure to I'll send you the invoice.
Appreciate you for taking that Jalen Green less, man. Appreciate it. I mean, he been scoring a little bit too much, so I need to make sure that once those law of averages come back, that we win it.
Yeah.
I wanted to. What did I want to ask? When it comes down to, I guess, the Western Conference, when we look at a team like the Clippers, I'd like to think, maybe I'm wrong, I'd like to think we all think they're better than the Pistons, right?
From a talent standpoint, yes.
Wait, who's better than the Pistons? I'm sorry.
The Clippers better than Detroit. From a talent standpoint, I can do that.
Mm-hmm. And the Pistons.
So what do you mean by that? So you mean by like on paper they're better, but you think the Pistons are? Okay,
I think what Detroit is doing is something different, though. But from a talent standpoint, like just personnel, yes, they are better.
Well, even record-wise, their record is better than the Pistons too.
Right.
So, like, but the Clippers are fighting for their playoff life, whereas the Pistons are comfortable. Like, they have the 60. Like,
100%.
Is that fair in you guys' estimation, or is it just that's how it is?
Well, we've seen, if I'm not mistaken, Miles, we've seen teams with better records who aren't better than other teams. Strictly because of
very rare they're in the better conference and the better division and still have the better record.
We've had, and I mean you said this, we went over this when we talked about the teams in the Eastern Conference. Like after 6, it gets tricky in the East. After 6, it gets, but from 1 to 6 in the East and 1 to 6 in the West, I mean there's not much of a gap.
Well, Go ahead, Joe.
I don't think that there's much of a gap, but after 6, it gets tricky. And then when we get to like 8 or 9, then it gets really tricky after that. But when I think about what's going on with when I think about what's going on with Detroit, I feel like the brand of basketball that they play. I understand how good the Clippers are from a personnel standpoint, how good James Harden is at creating shots for other people, how good Kawhi Leonard is in a one-on-one setting and a tough shot maker that he is, Zoo being the dirty work guy that he is around the rim. I can appreciate that. But I feel like as a collective with the Detroit Pistons, how they play basketball, and I'll say it right here on international TV, I think that if Isaiah I think that if Stewie didn't have the rap that he had, I think he'd be an all-league defender. I think he's that good. I think one of the main reasons why one of the main reasons why they treat him the way they treat him is because of the rap that he has. So when you add a dirty work guy like that, and you add another rebounder,
he's a
whack job. He's a 100% whack job. So I think that takes away from how good he is as a defender. And then you add in another glass cleaner. You add in another glass cleaner like Jalen Duren. I feel like this team, for the stuff that they lack in talent, I think that they make up for it as a collective. So I don't think that there's a huge gap between both them and Detroit.
But Mars, to the question that you were asked a minute ago about it being fair and whatnot, I'm already to the point where sports, if you playing sports, it's not supposed to be fair. You're on NBA team, it's not supposed to be fair. So I don't too much care about that. Like, is it fair to the Clippers as opposed to is it fair to the Pistons? That's whatever. I'm talking about the fans, us, the people that are consuming and watching. It's unfair to us that we're missing out on championship games that should be played. That we're getting championship series in the first round, second round out west. You know what I mean? And that's the series right there. You know what I mean? And we got to wait. It's just crazy. I think we need to get the best matchup in the championship, regardless of what conference you're playing. I think we need to get to that 1 through 16.
And when we get that matchup, you know what you guys need to do? You need to download the Gametime app so you don't got to watch it on that dusty-ass TV. You can go to the actual game and sit courtside or just be in the arena. You know, like, it would suck to miss a series like the Lakers versus Clippers. It would suck to miss a series like the Warriors versus the Nuggets. It would suck to miss the Minnesota Timberwolves packed up the Thunder. Well, with the Gametime app, you wouldn't be able or wouldn't have to miss any series like that because this is the MVP of ticketing apps. Let me break it down for you. Gametime makes getting tickets so easy that even your granny can do it. 2 taps on your phone and boom, you're right in and you're in the arena. You get to see your seats before you buy them. Gametime got you. You don't have to deal with sneaky fees because they have all-in prices with no surprises. Oh, and last-minute seats, don't even worry. Gametime's like, don't even sweat it. We got you with tickets all the way up until the game starts. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks and the Gametime app. Download the app, create an account, use promo code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but don't even worry. You still get $20 off. So who really cares when you get to see the Lakers versus the Clippers or the Pistons get packed up by the Bucks? What time is it? It's game time. So go ahead and download the app. Also, after you do that, get over to factormeals.com/playerschoice50 off. Why? Because they have everything to keep your diet right. With ready to optimize nutrition for the nutritional meals for the year, you will be set. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well as easy as possible. They are dietitian approved with ready to heat and eat meals in just 2 minutes. So you can fuel right and feel right no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives early, fresh, and fully prepared, perfect for any active and busy lifestyle. Right, Penn? You can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto Meals. With 40 different options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored specifically for you and specifically for your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or even Keto. Factor Meals can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and, well, a bunch more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that you can't beat. So get off your couch like Big Ox and get in the game with Factor Meals. All you got to do is go to factormeals.com/playerschoice50 off and use code playerschoice50 off to get 50% off your first box and plus, well, free shipping. That's Players Choice 50 off at factormeals.com/Players Choice 50 off to get 50% off your first box. And just to let you guys in on a little secret, this is why Mike performed so well in the PCL. He ate a Factor meal before. All right, y'all. Back to the.
Why am I catching Factor strays?
He was, just ad-libbing.
Yeah, he just wanted to be heard. Shout out to Ron, man.
I'm
Anyway.
not even mad that he cut me off and interrupted me. You know what I'm saying?
That was a great segue.
No,
Yeah,
to be fair, I
I
actually really did like that segue. That was actually really good for him.
Right. I wasn't upset about that. I'm upset that he's trying to imply that my feet are on the sofa. Like, get up off the couch like I haven't.
What does that even mean?
I haven't touched the couch in all week. I mean, the couch is just decoration at this point. Well, I mean, in the past week, Mars. It's like last Monday. That's the last time I've touched the sofa. It's just
you watch television on a folding chair like a psychopath? Tell me that.
No, I have done that, but I haven't. I'm just on go. Pin. I work a lot. I don't sit around very much. I'm running off 3 hours right now, bro. I don't play around, Pin.
That's very respectable. Now me,
when I see Ron, I'm gonna do what's that?
It's on site. It is on site with him. It's on site with Ron. We boxing as soon as I see him. We are boxing.
You guys are so mean to Ron, man. I would never.
You got some nerve.
I wish I went to junior high school with Ron so I could have shoved him in a locker
or turned him upside down.
Were you like a bully? You were a bully?
No, I wasn't.
Mean that being
never been a bully. Never been a bully at all. I don't appreciate that, but I would have bullied Ron for sure. It's just something about his face. Just something about his face making him a bully.
Ron, I go your back, man. I would never do that to you, Ron. But anyway, back to these super chats or members chats from people like Dame the Great. Dame the Great, who's been a member for 15 months, shout out to you, said Harden must have heard your debate show. LOL. He looks like he can play make a little bit. Looks like he can play make a little bit.
Yeah, he can. 100% he can.
And then the biggest Harden fan on the planet, other than me, Mo said, salute guys, dub Harden, he's balling, and go Pistons. Harden is balling. Yes, he is.
Shout outs to Mo, man.
Fact. Shout out to Mo. Shout out to Mo. And there he's in the chat saying he's balling again. Shout out to Mo.
Yes, he is.
He's on my all NBA team. Void Sentry said people like Luka, Harden, and Trey be saving broke individuals' careers. Zoo, Lively, Capella, and Hayes. Also, I want to see how Lively looks without Luka spoon feeding him.
Why? Why do you want to see that? How about he's maybe getting the most out of them? How about that for an idea? Why do you have to see him playing with some bums in order to say that, yeah, he sucks? How about him playing with James Harden? How about him playing with Trae Young and them getting the most out of him instead of I want to see him play without this guy? Get the hell out of here, man.
But so maybe he means for Lively, he just kind of wants to see how he, what else he got in his game if he needs Luka to throw him lobs or if he needs Luka to get him in the dunker spot. Maybe he might think that Lively has a lot more in his toolbox. You know what I mean?
Ain't that what he means it? But ain't that
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Right, but ain't that where Nico comes in, who he can get him a better distributor, plus put him in an offense where
you're using slurs right now? You call it right? Using slurs?
What did I miss? I missed something.
Nah, because Nico, they said down there if they
said that's
Nico,
a slur in Dallas these days.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You said I don't know if we can say the N word on YouTube.
I didn't know that. Okay, so the GM of the Mavericks. Let me rephrase that. So the GM in Dallas ain't that his job to see if he can get a better distributor? And on top of that, I mean,
ideally,
I don't know. He had the best one possible when he got rid of him. So I don't know.
Yes, he did. But I do have to give Lively a lot more credit than I did. He's a lot better passer. He's a lot smarter than I gave him credit for. I thought he was a project coming in, and I think he's a lot better than I gave him credit for. A lot better. So I think he'll be fine. I do.
Shout outs to Mr. Harrison, building 29 other teams. Really appreciate this, just doing a great job for all the cities across the NBA. It's great.
He might be the greatest GM in the history of the Lakers franchise, and that's saying something. So shout out to him.
Facts.
But anyway, enough about him.
I guess
I also think what Void Sentry's not. I disagree with Zoo being used there. I think Zoo is just really good, but I think the rest of them is like. I think maybe we have a tendency to maybe overrate guys who are in that Derrick Lively, DeAndre Jordan, Clint Capella role because of how they look next to a elite playmaker. And it's like, really, they're being maximized in a way that not many other players in the league can be maximized. So maybe they're not as good as other people who are in less advantaged situations. Right. I think that's kind of the point he's making with like Derrick Lively. For example, I remember that list, that top 100 that got put out maybe early on in the season. It had Derrick Lively at like 63. It had him above guys like Jarrett Allen or guys like Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that's just wrong. But Derrick Lively was in the most advantageous situation for his skill set. So he got viewed in a light that probably wasn't indicative of how good he truly is. I think that's kind of the point Void was trying to make.
With that foot injury, and with that foot injury, could that set him back in terms of his development? Because I mean, I see a lot there with Derrick Lively. I see a guy that can be an integral part of that offense, and especially working with Anthony Davis and what they're doing in Cleveland with that high-low offense that they run. I think they can do that with both him and Anthony Davis. I don't think Anthony Davis is the potential passer that Derrick Lively is. I don't think he makes the reads that Derrick, especially at this age. I don't think he makes the reads that Derrick Lively makes, and I think that those two as a duo, but I'm worried about that foot injury. I mean, is that going to set him back? And is that something that's going to hold him up? I hope not. I don't. Because I think on paper, this Dallas Maverick roster, I think they can be really good. I do.
Hopefully.
It's too bad the basketball ain't played on paper, huh?
No, it is not. It's played on the court.
I just want to say one thing, because false consciousness bothers me a lot. It's bothered me historically. It's bothered me, when it happens with companies, that very often a person makes a decision and another person ends up taking the bare brunt of that decision. When I listen to Nico Harrison talk about this deal, many times when I've heard him, it feels like he's trying to force the words out of his mouth. It sometimes feels like, I don't know, maybe there was a really stupid person in the background sort of pulling the strings and pushing him towards this decision because they didn't want to pay Luka.
So you don't think this is his decision? You think he was pushed into it and now he's left to clean it up?
Okay, chill. Can you think of one general manager in this league that has carte blanche or even the power to move a franchise level player with the marketability of Luka Doncic without the blessing of their owner? Forget blessing. I mean consent. Forget consent. I'm talking push. I feel like
the first had to sign off, Penny. He couldn't do
it's not even sign off. But the way this story has been presented, it's like, Nico Harrison went up to Adelson and was like, hey, pretty please, can we please trade Luka Doncic? I don't want to pay him. First of all, I don't think that's necessarily what even happened. I really don't. I feel like the Adelson family had some feelings about the Supermax, and I feel like they've been nudging at it for about a couple years since buying the team. And you can buy into the conspiracies and all that stuff. I'm just personally, I just feel like a very, very, very powerful and rich person is moving in the shadows here, making a move, and then a human being who is more front facing in the organization is taking the brunt of criticism for it. I'm not saying Nico Harrison is, or Jason Kidd or literally any other person who had a role to play in this decision is blameless.
Right.
But I'm just saying, I feel like if Nico is going to be a slur, let Adelson be a slur too.
Yeah, but my thing with that though for Nico is if I'm Nico Harrison, in the way things are looking, I got to get extra security detail. I can't even sit in my own seat. Look, Penn, if you make me trade Luka and I can't sit in my seat anymore, I'm telling the world I'm snitching. I'm telling. Like, no. I didn't want to trade Luka. They made me do it.
The reason I
you
said
got
this
to pay me handsomely under the table, Penn.
No, I understand what you're saying, Ox. It's just very often, I'm seeing Swiper on X, and he's talking about Calvin Booth. Always. Calvin Booth didn't want to sign this. Calvin Booth made this decision. Calvin Booth, this is your legacy. And it's just like, well, what if he goes to the Nuggets owners and says, we want to sign KCP, we want to sign Bruce Brown, and they're like, tough shit. We're not paying luxury tax. We're not paying this. Now, what you want Calvin Booth to do? But everybody's going to hate Calvin Booth. And it's like, well, you certainly weren't hating him when he won a championship, right?
Well, I'm only able.
We weren't necessarily hating on. We were calling Nico Harrison a genius literally like 15 months ago. I feel like people want to forget that.
Yes, that was going on.
Yes,
he got it right.
Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington for damn near nothing. Now, I am not about to become the person who's going to come up here and defend Nico Harrison because Lord knows I have my own gripes with that dude. But what I'm saying is we as fans need to wake the hell up about how much ownership plays a part. Okay? It's not Sam Presti who didn't want to sign James Harden. That's not him. He didn't do that. It's the OKC ownership. It's ownership that doesn't want to go into luxury tax. It's ownership that don't want to pay the extra $4 million. And I feel like good ownership needs to be commended. Like Joe Lacob and those dudes like that ate into the luxury tax bill because they wanted to support their superstar. They're eating a huge risk in bringing in Jimmy Butler because they want to once again support their superstar. I feel like there are teams that have routinely paid the money. And if you want to do the math on what these teams are worth, when they start cribbing about, oh, we don't want to pay this player $4 million, $5 million, $6 million, and you see the valuation of these teams going up $100, $200, $300 million, I'm not counting anyone's pockets, but I'm like, yo, these owners are greedy as hell, and the ones that don't want to pay the luxury tax, and then they line up their GM or their coach to come out there and pay for their decisions, so that fans can get mad at that. That to me is really frustrating. I feel like
I want y'all to throw Pat Riley a little bell too. while you at it too, just real quick.
Well, Pat Riley has admitted mistakes. He admitted that he screwed up with Dwayne Wade. He admitted that he should.
Yeah, but D-Wade, I'm talking about these recent situations with Jimmy Butler and whatnot.
Well, and I do understand that, but to Penn's point, well, two things. Number one, not just these GMs in the league today. Since I've been watching pro basketball, Penn, since I've been around pro basketball, there has never been a time when the 25-year-old superstar has gotten moved. That I don't ever remember that happening ever in all my days. He's gotten traded. That has never happened. That's number one. Number two, Oklahoma City in 2012, 2013, when they offered James Harden that contract, and he didn't pass. He just took some time to think about it. They ended up trading him. Just so you guys know, Oklahoma City at that time saved $30 million on the cap. Now, Oklahoma City at that time, I think they were the 41st sports market in America at that time in 2012. And $30 million in Oklahoma City in 2012 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So I'm pretty confident that Sam Presti wanted to keep James Harden, but he probably got a nudge from ownership that, what we're going to have to pay him, even though they did end up paying Serge Ibaka, what we're going to have to pay him, what we're going to have to pay Serge Ibaka too. It might be a little bit much for us. Now, this all goes away. All of this goes away within the next 3 years if the Dallas Mavericks win it. This all goes away because winning gives everybody amnesia. The fact that Luka got traded, the fact that they moved on from Luka, all of this goes away. And especially if Anthony Davis and Derrick Lively and Kyrie Irving turn into what Nico Harrison thinks that they're going to turn into, all of this goes away.
It's not going away. It won't go away.
That's just being too emotional. If they win championships and people are still upset, then that's too bad.
Yes.
We don't got time for all these emotions in business and sports and whatnot.
Yeah, well, humans have emotions, so it's always going to be a factor whether we like it or not. Quentin Frazier became a member. Shout out to Quentin Frazier. D3 said the NBA should give the first lottery pick to the team that just missed the play-ins to eliminate tanking. Teams would just tank for the 11 seed.
That's exactly what they would do.
Like if you're the Bulls and you know you're not going to win a chip, why would you
keep
stay
losing.
at 10? Just go to 11.
Yeah, and I'll just stay at 11. I'll make sure that I'm winning enough games to stay at 11.
That's what I came in on, and I was curious about that. I thought y'all
I have a way to fix tanking
about matchups and finding matchups. So y'all think it's okay to win games? Is there any reason to lose a basketball game on purpose?
In the NBA, yes. But this is a European mindset. This is an issue with American sports. You have there's no disincentive. I don't know if that's a word to lose. There's no bad reason to lose. You get rewarded for losing. In European sports, there's relegation. And I understand why that works. I understand why that works in Europe, because especially like in the Premier League in England, for example, the country is small. Like you don't, and also just you can't have like all of these places having an NBA team, the facilities. I understand it's different. But there's no reason to not lose in US sports. And unless Penn says he has a solution, so I'm gonna give the floor to him to offer the solution. But for me, if there's no threat like relegation, I don't think you're gonna convince teams that
what
losing.
About pride? What about pride and integrity?
It's business at the end of the day. What's better? Oh, we're the 9 seeds who lost in the play-in, or we have a chance at Victor Wembanyama.
That's what I was going to say.
Like
that was what I was going to say.
I don't think pride is taking precedent.
I'm not making the playoffs, Ox. We got 10 games left in the regular season. We're the 13th seed in the Western Conference. We're not going anywhere, and the prize is LeBron James or Shaq. Ox, I don't really care about winning at that point. I'm trying to get the #1 overall pick because I want to build my unit around that generational talent. That's what I want to do.
It's just not the incentive for being a 9 seed first round exit type team versus having a 14%, which is the best odds, or like any sort of chance of Victor Wembanyama, LeBron James, Shaq, if you go back, Kareem, etc. Like it's just the losing far outweighs the benefit of being at best the first round exit. Right. But Penn, you say you have the solution for tanking?
I do. Okay. So it's going to go further than the NBA has gone. Now, I believe that the NBA has made some very drastic and good moves towards, disincentivizing tanking, as evidenced by the fact that the Pistons finished with the worst record 2 years in a row and ended up with the 5th pick. And that is largely due to the fact that a long time ago, the top pick or the worst team had 25% chance to get the number 1 pick, which is a quarter chance. And now the flattened odds mean that 1 through 4 basically have the same odds at getting Cooper Flag, which means that you could be the worst team in the league or the third worst team in the league. You still got just a 14% chance of Cooper Flag. And 14% is about 1 in 6, 1 in 7 ish.
1 in 7. 1 in 7. Yeah.
1 in 7 exactly. So that to me is the first thing, which I believe the league has already fixed. I would take it a step further. If you finish bottom 5 2 years in a row, the very next year, your pick is automatically moved to 14th.
If you finish
Wait,
bottom
what?
5,
Wait, what?
If you finish with a bottom 5 record 2 years in a row, the third year, if you do it again, if you finish bottom 5 again, or if you finish in the lottery at all, your pick is automatically moved to 14th.
Why?
What if you genuinely just suck?
Right.
That's not my problem.
We're trying to get better too. Hold on, Ben.
We gave you 2.
So
gave you 2. You can't get better. We gave you 2 generational prospects. If you pick top 5 2 years in a row, and you are your lottery team again, your pick automatically gets moved to 14th. We're done with you.
Wow.
Okay. So the
teams would strategize around that.
Good.
They would have to.
Like, we'll suck it. We'll suck during the Wemby year. Right. We'll try and compete in the Zachary Ricochet year, no disrespect, and then we'll suck again in the Cooper Flag year. Like, they'll strategically be the 6th worst team in the league.
Right.
Cool. That's great. So at the very least, no franchise has to witness like back-to-back like 14 win seasons like for 4 years straight. Like it just completely eliminates the Charlotte Bobcats of it all. Okay. So that's the first thing I would do.
Well, you'd have to improve. You can't just keep getting lottery. You're not the Clippers of the 90s where you get the number 1 overall pick and the number 3 overall pick and the number 2 overall pick, and you're still at the bottom of the league. No, you have to improve. I can get now that logic I can get with. Now the taking away draft picks, I don't know about that.
We're not taking away draft picks.
Giving them the last
We're
pick.
moving.
Well, you're taking away my chance.
You're
taking away my chance of actually getting a high draft pick. And I think that's where
that's cool. You're a gambling fiend and you need some help, Joe. Okay.
That would be funny. Like imagine you're one of the bottom 5 teams 2 straight years, and then the trade deadline comes around in the 3rd year, and you're like the 4th worst team. Seeing that team making a win now move to be the 6th worst team in the NBA instead of the 4th worst team, that would be kind of funny. Like you just get someone on an expiring contract to help you win just enough to be like the 6th worst team. That would be kind of cool.
No, I'm not saying if you finish bottom 5 3 years in a row. I'm saying if you finish bottom 5 2 years in a row, the 3rd year, if you're in the lottery at all, not just bottom 5. If you're in the lottery at all, you automatically move to 14th. It's not just bottom 5.
So if I got the 7 pick,
that sounds drastic. Okay,
it's not that drastic.
I can't lose my pick. I can't.
That's just my first. I don't know about this. My second adjustment is right now the lottery is done 1 through 4, right? And then everything else is in reverse seeding. Okay. I would change it from 1 through 4 to 1 to 7.
So the first 7 picks are lottery picks, and
the first 7 picks are drawn by the lottery.
Okay.
What this does is it opens up Pandora's box that right now the lottery odds, which I feel like deserve an episode of their own, because I feel like a lot of people really just don't get it, because there's like a lot of people that are like, oh man, we're the 3rd worst team. We don't have any shot at Cooper Flag. And it's like you literally have identical odds at Cooper Flag. To put this into perspective, last year and the year before, the Pistons finished with the worst record in the league. Right. And they got the 5th pick. Why? Because 4 teams jumped them and they were defaulted to the 5th pick. Now, here's something really funny that people don't realize. If you have the worst record in the league, what is the most likely pick that you should get?
Like the most likely pick is the 5th pick.
Exactly. It's 52-ish percent, or 50.
I think it's 48, but
48% likely to get the 5th pick, which is the largest single odds. Right. So by moving it from 1 through 4 to 1 to 7, What you actually do is you open up a marginal possibility that you could be literally the worst team in the league and end up with the 8th pick, which completely changes the equation around we got to tank for Cooper Flag. We got to tank for Cooper Flag. So I would do this. That's the second thing I would do. The third thing I would do is I would
wait.
Mhm.
Relax, because I want to rewind really quickly. Because what I don't want to do is I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want to penalize teams for being bad who are actively trying to be good. We know that there's teams that tank, but then there's teams that are bad that are trying to improve. The Golden State Warriors, for example, they drafted Steph, then they drafted Clay. Then they drafted Clay. They were obviously trying to improve, right? They drafted Steph, then they drafted Harrison Barnes, then they drafted Clay. It was clear that they were trying to improve. So I don't want to penalize teams that are trying to improve, and because they're trying to improve and they're not. Now I'm taking away their opportunity to improve.
You're not taking away.
Do that.
You're not taking away anything, Cho. What you're doing is you are furthering. You're actually taking to drastic measure what the league is already trying to do, which is trying to disincentivize tanking. Now, the league is watching the Raptors and the Sixers rest fully healthy rosters in February. They are watching the Miami Heat win the first half of friggin' every single game, and then in the second half, forget how to play basketball and lose 8 straight games in March and February. Yo, this ain't.
But they got their guys though. Wait a minute though, Penn. I mean, Bam is playing. Hero is playing. All of those guys are playing. They are playing.
Say so.
They're not just
they don't know how to
there.
play right now, Chill, because I don't know what to tell you. It
Teams
doesn't
don't have
matter
losing
if
streak?
the Heat are up by 20, 30, 50. They could be up by 80 points in the first half. I guarantee you they're going to somehow lose that game in the second half. And it's the same thing with the Utah Jazz. They've been doing it all year. It's the same thing with the
Jazz
Nets.
have been disgraceful.
It's the same. What I just watched the other day, I wasn't on the panel, but what I just watched, the Philadelphia 76ers. No, Mr. Mars, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Houston Rockets. Yo, what the hell was that? That's not a miracle. That is tanking. That is
no, that was an amazing comeback. That's what that was.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was an open layup for Jalen Green. It was a putback for Alperen Sengun. And I don't know. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that Sixers huddle. Hey guys, nice attempt. Time to tear it down. It's like they were up by 25 points. Fred VanVleet goes out. I mean, and that was a secret, right?
Yeah. I ended up hitting Mars with a text. I hit Mars with a text, and I asked Mars.
I hope they make a lifetime movie about that comeback.
No, you said some expletives, but you asked what was going on, basically.
Yeah, some colorful
you asked what was going on, basically.
What is happening right now? What am I watching? What is going on right now? How are these dudes with 11 guys who haven't played a lot? Is it this Quentin Grimes' third or fourth team that he's been on? Like this season, if I'm not mistaken,
since last year, yeah. The Knicks, Pistons, Mavs, are now the Sixers.
So now we watching the Houston Rockets, who are a game out the second place, getting blown out by the 76ers. What is happening right now? Am I in the Matrix? What is going on?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Came back, and then we came back. Yeah, not because they were tanking, because
that's what happens when Fred VanVleet has 3 points in 38 minutes. But what I will say, okay, so those were two adjustments. So to recap here, 1 through 5, 2 years in a row. The third year, if you end up in the lottery, automatically you get the 14th pick or the 13th pick or whatever. If there's two teams, 14, 13, do a coin flop. Okay. The second change was instead of doing the lottery 1 through 4 and then reverse order, you do it 1 through 7. Despite what Chill says, I don't think that this is necessarily penalizing teams or taking anything away from them. What this actually does is it flattens the odds further, because now if you're the 11th team, 10th team, whatever, you actually have a chance to get a better player. And look, from the perspective of why you would want to do these two things, number one, I want as many great players going into great situations. That's all I want. I want great players going into great situations, because far too often when we recount all the draft busts throughout NBA history, we're looking at a lot of players who ended up in not so great situations. We're looking at a lot of players who ended up with not so great vets, not so great development, not so great coaching. So
Cooper
why
Flag
am I constantly
maybe going back to school? Exactly.
I mean, we'll see. The third and final thing that I would like to do is
Yep.
I would like to add some sort of incentive for making the play-in for the teams that don't
Like
make
it
the
helps
playoffs.
your odds. Like it helps your odds.
I feel like right now all the odds go down.
Yep.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So what if we could artificially boost the odds of the team? Like there's like 4 extra percent, or like and we could give 2% each, no 1% each to each team that doesn't make the play-in. That's just like everything is currently, weighted, for the first overall pick out of 96%. Then 1% extra goes to every single team that made the play-in but didn't make the playoffs. It adds a slight boost. And, right now, you're looking at the Raptors and the Sixers and the Heat, this who's going to be 10th, who's going to be 9th. Right now, the Miami Heat are in free fall. They look like they want to lose every
I don't think they're doing it on purpose, though, Penn. I really
But
don't.
they're still going to make the play-in regardless, no matter how much they're trying to tank.
I don't think that they're doing this on purpose. I really think that they're genuinely trying to get it together.
Because Toronto going to out-tank them, and they got a 5-game advantage.
Yeah.
So
you would think so, but
Mhm.
if you look at the schedule upcoming, I feel like it would be very possible for the Raptors to go like 9-4 the rest of the way.
The Heat playoffs will find a way to lose the game. I promise you. The Heat will win that game. But
the Heat could fall out of the play-in, man. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Chicago is being very ethical. They are amazing. They're like the perpetual.
And Chicago fans are hating it.
Yes, they do.
Chicago fans are mad that
Of
for
course.
the 3rd straight year,
Of
they're
course,
just
they're
hovering
mad.
around the 9 seed.
But they are
they don't
perpetually
like-
10th or 9th every year. And it's pretty amazing. It doesn't matter if they trade Debo. It doesn't matter if they trade Levine. It doesn't matter if Josh Giddey goes out. They're stuck in purgatory, right? They're just right there, perpetually knocking on the door that never results in the playoffs, that always results in like the 9th or 10th pick. But all I'm saying is think about this situation. If per this situation, the Wizards would automatically lose their pick this year and go to 14th, wouldn't it? Because they've been bottom 5 back-to-back years. And a team like Chicago would then actually move up a spot. So there you go. So now suddenly you are actually helping a team, and yeah, you're technically hurting another team, but you're actually helping a team that's doing the right thing. Again, every situation needs to be like created with the mind of what are we incentivizing teams to do. Right now, what you are incentivizing teams to do with this second apron is to stop throwing around money, to stop being so idiotic with how you build rosters. Have a little bit more, I don't know, presence of mind. Maybe you don't want to, you know what I mean? Like if you don't introduce the second apron, I'll guarantee you right now, instead of the Clippers and the story that we're having about the Clippers, we're talking about Paul George on the Clippers. Because there's no chance in hell he's going to Philly if that second apron restriction is not there. Again, you create rules to create the league that you actually want to see. I want to see a league with, less tanking. I want to see a league where young players, great young players, top picks go to better situations. I believe that these 3 changes would accomplish all of that.
Wouldn't I respect the thought process that's gone behind this. Like, definitely thought this through.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it just be a lot simpler if you just said 1 through 14 all have a 7% chance of the number 1 pick?
So now everybody has the same odds.
So if you miss the playoffs by 1 spot or you're the worst team in the league,
Right.
you have the same exact chance. Wouldn't that just do the same thing?
Okay, but now you create a new problem.
Yes,
which
a huge
is
problem.
You create a very big problem for the 15th, 16th, and 17th teams, and 18th teams, and 19th and 20th teams. Because right now, I'm basically having to choose between having even flat odds at Cooper Flag. I mean, think about right now, around what place is the team that has 7% chance at Cooper Flag?
Oh, in the current odds?
Mm-hmm.
How
bad are you?
I believe is Toronto. So the 7th worst.
Okay,
team,
so right now the 7th worst team. So you're basically telling every lottery team that now you have the 7th worst odds. Now, when the Raptors got Scotty Barnes, they had the 7th. They had 7% chance at number 1, and they moved up to number 4. So you're basically asking a team like Chicago or Miami that could be in the playoffs,
or Sacramento.
do you want that, or Sacramento, or Portland, or San Antonio or Dallas or literally any one of those teams.
Sure.
See, all you're doing is you're taking the
Did you
current
say Sacramento?
bullshit that's happening.
Talking
And
about the lottery.
like currently the bullshit, the real bullshit that's happening in the NBA is between teams that are third worst down to about 14th worst. You're taking that bullshit and you're just transferring it to happen between teams that are 10th worst to 20th worst. You just
Would I be a hypocrite if I said, I mean, tanking ain't too bad if you just do it one time?
Well, that's the thing, Ox. You're not getting penalized for doing it one time in my system. You're getting penalized for doing it 3 times.
All right.
Well, missing the playoffs doesn't mean it's tanking, but I get your point.
See, here's the thing: if you finish bottom, 5 one time, it could just be because you had a major injury, you had a star retire. You just had a catastrophic bad luck. You're trying to rebuild with youth. We know youth doesn't win. If you finish bottom 5 2 times, it means the process is taking longer. If you finish bottom 5 3 times, this is a choice.
Right.
You are choosing to be bad.
You're trusting the process at that point.
Yeah, but you said you don't have to finish bottom 5. You said finish bottom 5 twice and then miss the playoffs the next year. You still don't get your pick at 14.
Yeah.
If you miss the playoffs by 2 games in the 3rd year, I don't think you should lose your pick. Well,
but you're not losing your pick.
Rules.
I don't think your pick should go all the way to 14. I don't.
But here's the thing, Mars. If you miss the playoffs by 2 games, your pick would pretty much be 14th anyway.
But it could have been 12th.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So who cares?
Oh my God. I want my chance at 12.
Well, whatever the rules are,
I want my chance.
They got to be strict. But the thing about it, because I heard what y'all saying about Chicago got bigger problems than that. Chicago problem is how long was it? Chill? How long did they not have a development staff? They didn't have shooting coaches.
2 years.
Yeah, they got bigger problems than that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Some of these things that's going on with these teams is just internal. I'm of the mind that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I don't like it. I don't want it to be that way, but that's just how it is. This is America. These teams are going to be this way. These other teams, they're just not. Like the Sacramento Kings, we're never going to be the best. We're never going to be the best franchise in basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, there's some teams like the Lakers, the Celtics, the Heat, the Mavericks.
Never.
It's just not meant to be. Like we might get back in and make a run sometime in the near future. I don't know. Maybe when my kids are in high school or something like that. Who knows? But we won't be the Los Angeles Lakers. We won't be the Boston Celtics. You know what I mean? Some teams are just meant to be what they're meant to be. And we got to just accept it. The Bulls, it was cool in the 90s. The Kings, it was cool in 2002. That shit is long gone.
Anyway, thank you for that, Pen. I'm sure that will probably get clipped, brought into a segment, and people will tell you why it's a terrible idea and should never happen. But
that's cool.
I think now I'm not a businessman. I don't understand the full implications of this, but it sounded logical. It sounded well thought out to a casual mind like me. So maybe the NBA does implement it. I seen Pirate in the chat say just make the lottery 1 through 30. That'd be cool. But yeah, I want to see OKC with the number 1 pick. But Johnny Boy 2000 Gaming said Porzingis, I guess, is ramping up for the playoffs. If he's 15 to 25 points per game, very broad range, and 8 to 12 rebounds, is the league in trouble against the Celtics? So basically, Porzingis is the league in trouble.
Number 1, they're already in trouble. Number 2, big shout out to Baylor Shireman.
Best starting 5 in the league.
20, right? Yeah, 20 last
20 points on 7 for 8 shooting.
That's the kid from Creighton. Left-handed.
Looking like he just walked out of the crowd and just, he looks like one of those NBA players who could just be a dude in the stands,
Yep.
It's funny. But this is his time. March. That's his time. He was balling last year in March. He balling again in March.
I want to read the ones that are about the draft odds because it's relevant. I don't want to come back to it in about an hour.
Right.
So NP13 said, considering the fact that we'll always have miserable teams in the bottom 3 to 4 in each conference, wouldn't it be better to give the highest odds to the teams ranked 12 to 20 to round out the competition? So penalize the trash, reward the middling trash.
No, because I don't think all trash is created equal. And again, there are plenty of teams that are legitimately trying to do the right thing. You know,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
If I'm looking right now at the Washington Wizards, I'm actually genuinely impressed.
Yes.
I'm impressed that they have brought in adults. I'm impressed that they brought in Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon to mentor these young players. I like their, I like their coaching staff. I like what they're doing. And we're seeing players have moments. We're seeing Alex Starr have a moment. And we're seeing players get better. And that's all I want, because you know what? If you consider basketball on a broader spectrum, step outside for a second, forget about your favorite team. Think about all 400. They're entities. They are ecosystems for communities. They're ecosystems for their families, families. Now, obviously, I talked about false consciousness early, so we have a tendency to blame the player. Player doesn't work out. Oh, Killian Hayes a bum. Yeah, this guy's a bum. That guy's a bum. Well, what if he didn't have a shooting coach? What if he didn't have a nutritionist? What if he didn't have a veteran? What if he didn't have a veteran because you, dumbass organization, decided to put him into a room with 20-year-olds when he had a language barrier and he didn't have a coach who liked him? Like, again, I'm not saying it's always the coach's fault. It's always the organization's fault. But I believe organizations have responsibilities to players.
Yes,
look, when I talk to a lot of trainers, I have a lot of friends who are scouts. People talk about how organizations run. People talk about, like I know trainers who work with teams, and they'll talk about these teams. They'll be like, oh, my client went to this team, and dude, I didn't hear nothing from them for 2 years. Didn't even talk to
Penn,
them.
Now, Penn, we got to remember that not all of these guys that play basketball at the pro level love the game. It just so happens that I'm really good at this, and this is a job, and that's how I'm going to treat it. However, those guys, there are plenty of those guys who treat it like it's a job, but will put work in to be good. And that's where the organization comes in. When
attitude reflects leadership sometimes, Chill.
And
all of these
100%. 100%.
So where is the love? I don't mean to sound like the Black Eyed Peas here, but where is the love here? Okay. So what happened? So sometimes, and I'm gonna just say this, sometimes you do love the game. You love the game when you're in AAU. You love the game when you're just hooping with your dudes and in the travel teams. And then you get to the pros, and then you basically losing every year, and you got a whole bunch of coaches who don't care, and you got dead ass practices, and you feeling like an organization is basically trying to tell you. And every time a player becomes good, they trade him away, and you do start to hate it. You do start to hate it because you're 20. So, and then now I got to blame you because you don't want to run back on defense and play for this trash ass organization. I feel like the league will be better if more teams are like OKC, if more teams are like Memphis, where there is an actual implementation of culture. Think of you want to talk about an example. Steven Silas, the Houston Rockets, that entire thing. Now, I'm not trying to throw strays at Steven Silas, but look at the organization.
No, you can. It was Animal House. It was a joke. It was.
Absolutely.
It was Animal House.
And everyone want to blame Steven Silas, but honestly, it was organizational. At that point, it was organizational. It was right down Tillman Fertitta, right down to Raphael Stone, right down to Steven Silas. There was an organizational incentive to lose until one day they woke their ass up, and they were like, you know what? It's time to change. It's time to change. We can't do this anymore. And then they shifted.
If that was the case, if Silas wasn't the problem, and because remember, Silas didn't pick those guys. The GM picked those guys. The GM picked Sengun. The GM picked Jalen Green. The GM picked Jabari Smith. The GM picked those guys. So it wasn't solely what was going on with Silas, right? So he might have lost control of that group.
But when you bring, but
I'm not gonna blame the whole thing on him. No, because if we're looking at it from an organizational standpoint, as the GM, you did bring these guys in. And remember, Penn, I've said this to you in the past. I am not a pro when I get to the league. I got pro potential. It's your job to teach me to be a pro. Now, with me being a pro, there are guys, plenty of guys who do treat it like a job, but they will put in the work to get better. I'm going to punch a clock. But while I'm here, I'm going to give you everything I got. And when I'm done, I'm out. When we get back, then we'll get back to work. There's plenty of guys who do that. I don't want to penalize those guys because this organization isn't doing their job, because there's plenty of guys in the league who do want to get better, but they also see this as a job too.
I don't know if great organizations pick players who want to get better, or if great organizations literally find players and then make them better. I don't know if there's a cart and horse argument. I feel like if I'm a scout for the Memphis Grizzlies or the OKC Thunder, I'm probably disproportionately going to bring in players who already have a track record for work ethic, coachability, et cetera, and all that stuff, right? All I'm saying is there's plenty of players.
That's easier than it sounds, Penn. That's just a lot easier than it sounds. Like hiring people. You know how easy it is to doctor up a resume and pretend. And when I'm watching from the outside looking in, and I'm seeing you coaching, I'm thinking I'm seeing something I'm not seeing. It's just my thing is like I said a minute ago, because what you said was why more organizations should be like, I think you said Miami and Memphis, and implement this culture and whatnot. And that goes back to my original statement. It's just like, it won't work out if everybody's top notch, if everybody's good. Like, I think, Penn, sometimes you envision like this utopian society in so many different levels, down to when we make lists on here. Like, y'all when something ain't right, it's like, why is it this perfect?
I didn't say everybody needs to be that way. I said more teams should be that
way.
Right.
I know you didn't literally say everyone, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that that's just how it is. Every team can't have culture. You know what I mean? It's just
the tide rises, everybody rises, right, Ox? So you know, everyone
in water, yeah, but not in the NBA. if we all in water and we in floaties and we on boats and we just chilling and we floating, and if the tide rises, then hell yeah, I'm gonna rise. But in the NBA, the NBA ain't water. So
hey, look, like everything that, you know, what the Houston Rockets did and the Suns did, moving towards analytics, everybody moved towards analytics. Now, did everyone move to analytics the same degree? No, but everyone is closer to that. So what I'm saying is, when you have
some people drown when the tide rises. My bad.
I think the OKC Thunder found a market advantage, right? Because everybody has the same salary cap, everybody has the same draft odds, everybody has, you know, the same. So what did they do? They found competitive advantages. They started to work on the OKC Blue. They started working on their G League team. They started working on their culture, their coaching staff. They brought in the best shooting coach, because that doesn't count towards your cap and your luxury tax bill. These are all, it's called winning on the margins. Every successful organization wins on the margins. If an organization figures out that if our employees are happier, they'll be 5% more productive, then you have a great incentive to make your employees happier. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that successful organizations do, not just in sports, like literally across spectrums and across sectors, that consistently produce better results. And it really does come down to 1% better. If I could figure out that this shooting coach that costs $500,000 a year is going to make my players 1% better, 1% better at shooting is a really big win on the margins. 1% better conditioning, 1% better nutrition, 1% better sleep, 1% adds up. So that's all I'm saying. I just feel like a lot of organizations run like Animal House. And again, when you talk to these trainers and you hear, you know, some of the stories about the assistant coaches or the coaches meetings or just a brief interaction that they've had with these teams, it's really nuts. And we're asking 19 and 20-year-olds to be professional when no one around them is being professional. And that's crazy to me. So again, I'll agree that not every team is ever going to adopt this. There's always going to be teams that are going to be further behind or worse or cheap or whatever. Cool. Let's minimize those teams. Let's make them, you know, less incentivized, and let's stop giving them top 5 picks. Let's stop giving those teams, you know, a little pat on the back for being super shit at managing the basketball team. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel you. So you have somebody else take control, because when you're just incompetent, a lot of times you're incompetent because you don't know you're incompetent. Your self-awareness meter is just so down here. You know what I mean? You just don't. You think you're getting cheated. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how come we can't get better? It's like, because you suck. Like, you know what I mean?
And you're dumb too. On top of that, and you're that smart.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you could put in 18 hours of work. You could put in 18 hours a day
and get nothing done.
Terrible, because it's just not for you. You're not sharp enough. You're not quick enough. You're none of the things. You don't have the business savvy, whatever it may be. You're lacking it, but that's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's okay, as long as you keep going, keep thriving.
We have a few more super chats pertaining to this, but we're not going to harp on it for 20 more minutes. Warvy Room said, I would love if, regardless of wins and losses, every team had the same odds. So he's saying a 1 through 30 lottery. OKC has the same possibility of Cooper Flag as Washington does. Real quick, 1 through 30 drafts. You guys like that?
No.
Okay, there we go. Hjalmar Skeet Nielsen said, just remove the drafts.
And then how do we get players then?
Free
Sign
agency.
them, open market.
But then, yeah, the
That
best
would
rookies would probably just go to the best teams. I don't know, but
Right.
probably not.
Because if we're getting rid of the draft, that means that we got to get rid of the salary cap too, because now everybody has an opportunity to get them.
Probably, yeah. I don't think that's a great idea.
No.
SMN RNDM, since he prefers being called that these days, he said, how about the money from TV that gets spread around the league? Make it based on record. You get the occasional tanking for Wemby, but the greedy owners won't tank most season if it means losing money.
That's a really good idea.
Well, they lose money anyway because they suck. So they're not on TV as much, and because they're not on TV as much, that hurts their revenue. So
I don't know how many people know this, but if you're a luxury tax team, if you're a tax paying team, you actually are losing money because there is a certain tax bill that is divided up between teams that are not luxury tax teams that's paid out each year, and it's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Couple more. These aren't pertaining to tanking, but they are pertaining to Penn's ownership point, and then we will just get onto basketball stuff, on court stuff. Pimp named Slickback said Penn makes a good point. That's why Gilbert Arenas said agents want their guys in big markets. For example, if Cooper Flag was on the Nets versus the Jazz, the Nets are way more likely to pay luxury tax bills. Just saying that the ownership there is more likely to spend to win, as opposed to the
Brooklyn
Jazz.
is way different. Sure.
Then he also said, I also understand tanking, but I think I like what my Nets have done this year. We're not 1, but we're 5. And Jordy establishing a great foundation. And I think culture matters as well for teams. You want a victory lap, Jordy Fernandez, real quick, Pen?
I love Jordy. I think he's done a great job everywhere he's gone. He did a great job in Sacramento, did a great job with Team Canada. I think he's done a great job in Brooklyn. And I fully think that he is the type of voice that can guide, a young team through turbulent times, because not all losing is equal. It's perfectly possible to have a completely toxic team that's got 38 wins. And it's perfectly possible to have a really connected team that's getting better and having great practices that has 14 wins. It's not only about wins and losses. It's about how you process those wins, how you process those losses. And ultimately, are you getting better? Are you learning, right? The film study sessions, the accountability, the off-court development. These young players have a million things to learn when they get into the league, from how to manage their sleep to how to manage their game day routine. And someone has to teach them. If it's not going to be a veteran, it's got to be an assistant coach. You got to have those adults in the room.
Thank you for that. And then we got some members. We've got becoming a member. Shout out to him. And then we've got He Not Legends became a member. Welcome to membership. Hopefully it treats you well. And then finally we have Say Krishna Gorantla. I tried, did my best.
That was a great attempt.
Thank you. Shout out to you guys for becoming members. And then we have a super chat. Chill wanted to talk about some awards. So this one pertains to that. Hits him up. Said Draymond for DPOY. He had Giannis in jail last night. Evan Mobley
he did a great job on
Giannis last night. Draymond did have a great defensive game last night. Does Draymond have a shot at defensive player? Because he said he wants it. So he's playing for it. But does he have a chance?
Not really.
Where is Golden State in defense this season? Where is Golden State in
the Warriors this year are the number 7 defense. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, he does have a shot at it.
Since they got Jimmy Butler, I know they've been higher. Since they got Jimmy Butler, they've been the number 2 defense. And Draymond's a big part of that, obviously.
Yeah.
So does he have
100%? Yes, he does have a shot. I mean, historically, what the defensive player of the year has been guys on great defensive teams. That's why Dyson Daniels is out. As good as Dyson Daniels is as a defender, I think that they, if I'm not mistaken, they're closer to 20 than they are to 10. Atlanta is in terms of defense, and I think that that's gonna hamper him more than it would with Draymond Green. So yeah, no doubt. I think Draymond he did a great job last night on Giannis. He did a great job on Giannis last night. Giannis, his game is riddled with physicality. That's who Giannis is. Giannis wants to play rough. Giannis wants to play physical. And Draymond knew exactly where to play physical with him, how to play physical with him without fouling, baiting him into shots that he wanted Giannis to take and Giannis didn't want to take. And when Giannis recognized that he couldn't get downhill because the collection also was there too. It wasn't just Draymond standing at the rim and bodying him up when we get to the mid post. No, when he got to the mid post, here comes the help. And they came immediately. So now that puts Giannis in a bind where Giannis either has to get off the ball or he's got to try to get to the rim with his weak hand, particularly because Draymond was sitting on that right hand. And he did a good job on Giannis last night. It almost reminded me of the wall that they built in Toronto. Almost.
Right, but
not quite, but
almost. If you see with the addition of Jimmy Butler, the IQ on the defense with Jimmy and Draymond, I'm watching where Draymond is in his help side. He's help side on the baseline. I can't remember who has the ball, but when Draymond's there on help side and Jimmy's way over on weak side help, when Giannis is dropping down, Jimmy's the one going up, bumping, hitting Giannis as soon as he touches the nail. Jimmy's going up, shooting up and hitting Giannis so that Draymond can stay over here and help. Draymond and Jimmy, they out there communicating with each other on defense, just talking, looking at each other, and just already knowing where to be. I know we're supposed to be talking about Draymond, but I was just thinking about how them.
No, that's part of it, Ox. That's part of it.
Amazing team defense, communication, all of those things. Yeah.
And I know stuff like that is supposed to be, supposed to be basic. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but to me, those things are huge. In basketball, you know what I mean? I think those small things on defense, like being able to know what we're doing, right? You know what I mean? From before it happens, like Jimmy already know, like, no, I'm gonna stop this right now before we get to a point. Because if Giannis gets the ball with Draymond right here, he's probably cooked. You know what I mean? So we're just gonna we're gonna stop that right now. Draymond, you can still stay and help. I'm here. I got somebody behind me. I don't know who that. I can't remember who that was, but I can get back to my man. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna help you out before you need the help. And for Draymond, just talking about how he was guarding Giannis last night. It's just you got some players in the league that are bigger, longer, even faster or stronger than Draymond that can't play anywhere near the level of defense he plays because he's so smart. Like he knows how to just stop things early. With really good offensive players such as Giannis, you know what I mean? So for him, if he were to win a Defensive Player of the Year award this season, I think that would be probably the dopest award given this whole season. Like I don't even Shea. Like Shea's, I'm not saying Giannis Draymond's playing to that level, but Shea getting MVP is one thing. Draymond coming back right now with what 33 something, 34, however 34, and then getting another Defensive Player of the Year award. I think that's dope for Draymond. Y'all know how I feel about Draymond, but you got to give respect when it's due.
Would he be the oldest DPOY winner, or would that be Dikembe?
Dikembe was 32.
So it would be Draymond, unless I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, he was 32 in 2001. And
if you had to,
the Defensive Player of the Year started in the 82-83 season. So
KG got in LA, right?
Yeah, KG got in LA. He was 31.
KG was
he was 32. He was 32. I'm sorry. He turned 32 that season. Yeah, so he turned 32. Yeah, those are the oldest guys. Nobody has won it past age 32 in terms of Defensive Player of the Year. I think Rudy just won it. Rudy was 31. So Ben Wallace, when he won it in 2004, I want to say he was 30 or 29, somewhere around there. But to your point though, Ox, I mean, that's what makes defensive players great. That's what made Jordan great. That's what made Evan Mobley great. The fact that he can rely on Jared Allen to help him. Like, it's not just, don't get me wrong, as a defender, you do have to stand on your own at some point, and you have to come up with big defensive plays, which I think a lot of these guys do. But communication is paramount in that, because if I don't know where you are, if I don't know if you have my back, or if you don't know if I have your back, then we're going to be the Keystone Cocktail here. We're going to be bumping into each other. We're not going to know where we're supposed to be. We're not going to know what we're supposed to be doing. We're going to be fumbling rebounds. We're going to be in places that we shouldn't be in places, which would explain why I think Draymond is going to be in that. Now that I find out that, you know, his team, when he's on the floor, you know, they're second in the league in defense. Yeah, I can see Draymond involved in Defensive Player of the Year 100%.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of names that are going to be disqualified because they won't make the minutes or the games cut off.
Yeah.
But if you had to guess the number one player in terms of estimated defensive plus minus, who would you say it is?
estimated defensive plus
on the season.
I don't know. I don't know how that's calculated. So I'm just gonna say Dyson.
Last I checked, which was maybe 2 weeks ago, I think it was Alex Caruso.
It is still Alex Caruso. So according to Dunks and Threes and their algorithm on trying to measure this, and honestly, I'm very, very public on this. I don't like defensive analytics because I think that the hardest thing in basketball is to isolate individual defensive contribution in a team scheme. But here are some names that are leading the list. Alex Caruso, number 1. Chris Dunn. Number 3 might shock some people, but it doesn't shock anybody who actually watches him, and that's Asar Thompson for the Detroit Pistons.
Absolutely.
Number 4, Victor Wembanyama. Number 5, Chet Holmgren. Number 6, Amen Thompson. Number 7, Jalen Williams. Number 8, Ivica Zubac. Number 9, Paul Reed. Number 10
is cooked. Okay,
it's not that cooked. Okay, Paul Reed's been amazing defensively.
Wow.
Number 10, Draymond Green. Number 11, Trentford Watford. Number 12, Jonathan Isaac. Number 13, Dyson Daniels. Number 14, Andrew Nembhard. Number 15, Scotty Barnes. Number 16, Jalen Suggs. So
you just think this far so you can say Scotty Barnes. It was no reason for you to read 16 names, Pin. It's either
Mobley. So I want to make sure I'm understanding you. I want to make sure I'm following you. So are we talking about box plus minus? Is that correct?
No, defensive estimated plus minus.
Defensive estimate. So this isn't actual. This is estimated. And
well, that's
Evan
what the stat is called.
It's just the name,
right? And Evan Mobley is not in the top 15 in this.
Yeah, he's actually below Isaiah Hartenstein.
Wow. This is why Ox has such a difficult time with basketball. For that reason right there, because of stuff like this. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna act like I know the formula, but
I don't.
I mean, any defensive stat that has Alex Caruso and Asar Thompson and Chris Dunn very high with Wemby and Chet and Amen Thompson very high, it's not too bad.
There's definitely something to it. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure the formula isn't too bad.
I would like to know how it's put together, though. I would. I would like to know.
There's going to be a lot of coefficients I wouldn't understand. I'm not smart enough to understand how these stats work, but I do think. What I do know, and this isn't with numbers or anything, a lot of the best defenders in the league don't have the minutes or games played to make all defensive teams or be in defensive player of the year consideration. Alex Caruso being one of them. I don't know how many games Chris Dunn has played, but I feel he's on the fringe of being eligible. Asar Thompson isn't eligible. Wemby isn't eligible. Chet isn't eligible. Depends on how long Amen Thompson's out for. He may not be eligible. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. Depends on how long J-Dub's out for. He may or may not be eligible. Zoo is eligible.
I would be surprised if Oklahoma City if they shelved him for the rest of the season. That would not surprise me because that hip injury sounds like it's a lot worse than what they told us. And I would not be surprised if they shelved him for the rest of the season because, I mean, we've seen teams shelve their players in the first round of a playoff series. That's how good they were. So is it ridiculous for me to think that Oklahoma City, as good as they are, with this hip injury maybe being worse than what we think it is, and it took a little bit longer for them to heal, so they can maybe shelve him a little bit longer. And if they end up playing, I don't know, the Clippers in the first round, we might not need him against the Clippers. We might be able to beat them.
I mean, I can't speak on an injury I know nothing about. Maybe it's bad, maybe it's not bad, maybe they're pretending, maybe they're making it seem worse than it is, maybe they're just saying nothing because they know it's fine and they don't want to put anything out to the media. I don't know. So when it's like a torn ACL for Kyrie, it's like, yeah, you can project about a year, probably. A guy his age, you don't want to rush anything. You're probably not playing for a championship, probably a year. But when I know nothing, I can't just project that. But I do think, I know he's played about 60 games, so he'd have to come back and play about 5 more to be eligible for a defensive team. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe it does. But the point being, a lot of the best defenders in the league or the guys who have played the best on defense this year may not play enough games, which means like the all-defensive first and second team really and truly might be the all-defensive third and fourth team. Like, just in terms of like how good these guys actually are defensively. Just in terms of the games played. And that's tough. Like, shout out to the guys who are going to make it, but a lot of them are going to make it
because Asar's not going to make it, Wemby's not going to make it, Chet's not going to make it. Like, there's a lot of great defenders who want to make this list.
Of the top 5 defenders in the sport, me personally, I would say Wemby and Chet are both top 5 defenders in the sport. Both of them aren't going to make it.
Anthony Davis isn't going to make it.
Right? AD's not going to make it. Like that,
it's not going to make it. So yeah,
I don't know. Did you guys?
Jalen Suggs is not
the
going to make
game
it.
minimum. Yeah, Jalen Suggs isn't going to make it. Did you guys
Nope.
hear Draymond Green's comments on the Defense Player of the Year awards and like how it's awarded?
No,
Oh, I didn't hear how it was awarded.
No,
I just
I
heard him say that since Wemby's out, he wants it. That's
I
all
will show the clip. It is quite long, so I'll speed it up, but it's about 4 minutes. It should take about maybe 2
So is it going to be
minutes.
sound like?
It shouldn't. I mean, I should be. We should be able to understand that. I believe our
let's
brains
hear
work
it.
well.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's courtesy of Anthony Slater. I believe he's a Warriors reporter. So shout out to him. It's on his
Let's hear
Twitter.
Draymond's going to be sounding like the anime.
Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Board season, getting towards it. Do you think you have a?
Yeah.
I think obviously, we keep winning and closing this year out strong. Most definitely. I look around the league. I don't see many players impacting the game on the defensive end the way I do. I don't see many players completely throwing off an entire team's offense the way I do. So 1,000%, especially with Wemby going down, seemed like he had it won, and now it's right there. So 1,000,000%. I have a case, and I'll continue to build that case for these next 13 games. So tonight, prime example.
You're talking about
Crazy. Speaking of mine, they try to get your idea, but historically,
maybe a hard time with that award.
because I think the voters look at stat numbers, and I don't want to oversell myself because I have so much respect for Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, but I do think I'm that great defensively. And
Of course.
Okay.
Of course he thinks that.
you can miss it. And I think if you just
I
go look at the
I don't even hate it, honestly. I don't hate it.
Me neither.
So for a player like KG, for a player like Tim Duncan, myself, it ain't all about the blocks. It's not all about the steals. Where are you covering? And I think like myself, they cover for everybody. So when you can cover for everybody, sometimes you can get a lot of steals and there's guys covering for you. Because you're getting a lot of steals, you're probably taking a lot of risk. We cover for people. And I think, that's why I have one and they have one. Because you got some people that have a vote on the East Coast that probably see us play 4 times a year. And if you look at the stats, you're gonna be like, oh, Draymond average 1 steal in a block. Those numbers don't jump off the page at you. You gonna watch me play. And then you gonna ask the opposing coach, what did I do to their offense? It's a different story. Same for Timmy G, same for KG. And so
He's cooking right now.
when you look at it,
He's cooking right now.
Reward is widely based off statistics. And those statistics don't always tell the story. Some guys get the stats, get big on. Some guys get the stats and can be a liability to their defense. They take too many chances. The defense break down. We don't do that. Sometimes you get punished for it. But championships. All 3 of us got. So I'm sure just like myself, they much rather have those than more defensive players. But I want another one. And I ain't retired yet. So shout out to them OGs. They are incredible. Great. But I still got a chance.
Man, I hate when I gotta agree with this dude.
Well, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Everything he said. Some people said it was a bit low. So for the people who couldn't hear it, I did have it on max volume, so I apologize. But to summarize, he basically said he feels like the Defensive Player of the Year award is voted mainly off of stats, steals, and blocks and stuff, and it doesn't fully encapsulate what guys are doing on a possession-to-possession basis to stop other teams' offenses.
Sure.
He said other teams' coaches know what he brings to the table, but there's maybe people on the East Coast who only watch him 4 times a year, so they don't get to see what he's doing on a game-to-game basis. But what he brings to the table is more valuable than guys who might accrue a lot of stats, and that accruing stats can sometimes come at the cost to your defense in the big picture, such as gambling for steals or gambling to chase these statistics that might make you a worse defender than someone who doesn't get those stats. That's to summarize it. Long story short, he was compared to Tim Duncan. No, he wasn't compared to Tim Duncan and KG, but someone brought up those guys not having many defensive player of the years despite being all-time great defenders. And then Draymond said that he thinks they fell victim to a similar sort of ideology. So I want to ask you guys, Ox kind of said it already, he agreed, but how do you guys feel about the way the Defensive Player of the Year award is voted on, and does Draymond have a point about what he's saying?
I 100% think he has a point. We live in that kind of era today. We live in an era of information being accessible, and because information is accessible as it is, it influences people. So if you see a guy averaging 4 blocks, if you see a guy averaging 13 rebounds, automatically that kind of jumps out at you that a guy must be defending, and not watching him understanding rotations, seeing how he doesn't foul, seeing how smart he is in situations, seeing how good he is in recovery, seeing how good he is as a rebounder, seeing how good he is at slipping blockouts and things like that. You don't recognize that sort of stuff because we live in an information age where everything is accessible, and because it's accessible, people just look at the stats. To your point, Mars, we got a bunch of box score watchers out here, a bunch of them, and one of my best friends is a box score watcher. And a lot of times, me and him, we have conversations where I got to shut the door on him because all he's talking about is the box score. Well, I saw this, and it looks like, this guy had 20, so that was the difference in the game. Well, wait a minute. You didn't see the game. You completely forget that the 20 that he only had it in the first half. Like, he was completely irrelevant the rest of the game. And they were able to make up for that 20 that he missed. There were other things going on. With that being said, production does matter. 100% it does matter. And just so you guys know, I don't know if you know this, Ox, this is how many years Dennis Rodman led the league in rebound in blocks. This is how many years he led the league in steals. This is how many right here. Never. Not one time did he do that. But because he was so good as a rotation player, because he was so good as a weak side defender, because he was so good in recovery, teams schemed their offense around him. And yeah, you were able to do a lot of different things. But I do think Draymond has a point in the aspect that production does matter, but you need to pay attention to the game a little bit more.
Pen.
I feel like people ball watch way too much when it comes to defense. And subsequently, defense becomes a secondary thought to offense. So I'm watching offense, and when I'm watching offense, I'm watching the ball. So Anthony Simons gets the ball, Shaden Sharp is setting a screen away. Jeremy Grant is cutting back door, which is opening up, a driving angle for the guy who has the ball. All of this other stuff is happening while the guy with the basketball is the only thing I'm actually watching. I'm honed in. You cannot watch three things at once. Sometimes you got to slow the game down and watch it from a more bird's eye view. So subsequently, because we watch offense with a focus on the ball, we also watch defense with a focus on the ball, which means that we tend to have a preference towards flashy numbers, flashy plays on the basketball. But what about that guy who always sits in the gap to dissuade the right, to dissuade the drive, or always
isn't that what voters, the people that have the right to vote on this stuff, don't they know this? So, or is this
it's not like
you tell me. Do you think Stephen A. Smith is doing that?
100%. 100%. I respect Stephen A's basketball. I know a lot of people don't like Stephen A because of whatever reason. I don't care why. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I think Stephen A is a basketball casual. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I think Stephen A doesn't know.
That's not what I said.
Well, I know.
I know he's watching the game from the perspective.
If you're watching it the way that Penn's explaining it, then you are a basketball casual. 100%. If that's how you watch basketball, if you can't see the whole floor because you're just focused on the ball, then you don't know what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? So I want to believe that I got enough respect for people that have the right to vote on this to know that they're actually watching the game. You know what I'm saying? I have to believe that to think that this whole NBA thing is real. If I don't believe that, then this whole shit is a facade. It's fake. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the people that are voting for this are watching this like casual fans that don't understand all the intricate things that you understand, Penn, then this shit is pointless.
Like, what are we doing here?
I think
why are we here?
It's
all pointless. It's the Twilight Zone. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's fake.
You get really close to the side of the fence I'm sitting comfortably on. You just need to hop over the fence, man. You right there with me.
Like, to Ox's point, I mean, to have guys,
I want to believe in basketball.
Instead of
and
I want you to stay right where you at, Penn, because I know you got a really good point. But instead of giving votes to guys like Brian Windhorst, right, guys like that, maybe we should start looking for different voters, people who do watch the game at a different level and understand the game at a different level. Because let's not act like narrative and outside influence doesn't influence voting, because it 100% does. 100% it does.
Why else would national TV games apparently boost MVP odds if it wasn't because more people are watching them? Because we know the voters aren't watching every game. Right. And even if Stephen A. Smith isn't a casual, let's say for the sake of argument, he's not. Just based on the nature of his job, he can't watch as much basketball as someone who doesn't, who can. He's not watching the Memphis Grizzlies play against the Detroit Pistons. That's not on national TV. Quite frankly, because he's probably working on a game that is on national TV. So he just can't watch the same amount of games as other people because his job doesn't allow him to.
He does have people that do that.
He has people who watch the game for him, and
yes.
That makes it even worse.
But wait, Mark. But if he vets these people, if these guys are real basketball scouts, let's say Stephen A.
Then let them have the vote. If that's
hold on.
But they can't watch too much basketball.
But we know politicians don't write their own speeches. So I'm just saying, like, that's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the coaches don't create their own systems. So all I'm saying is, let's just assume Stephen A. hired 3 scouts. You know what I'm saying? Scouts that were, top scouts in whatever field they were, college, NBA, whatever level. And he says, y'all come work for me. Y'all scout the games for me. I can only watch 3 games a day because as Stephen A's flying from place to place, he's watching basketball. Let's just assume. Let's go into this good natured, good party, right?
Most optimal situation.
Right. Let's do that. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Let's say that he does watch 2-3 games a day because that's all he can fit in, and he has 3 people that are breaking down film for him, sending him clips and letting him know this is what's happening. This is who's doing what. I think that's as good as you could get at that level of, where Stephen A. is at, how much work he's doing. I think that's as good as it gets. I can trust his basketball mind if these are the things that are going on. He's watching some basketball and he has trusted scouts that are, sending him information along with clips. They're not just sending him just something he can't check. That's all I'm saying. I think it's just I think it's crazy that we out here call people like, because we have like this anti-ESPN thing going on in this space, you know what I'm saying? In the chat, in YouTube, this is anti-ESPN, anti-Fox Sports or whatever, all the other sports places. It is so anti. It's kind of weird to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, Stephen A. don't know ball, Nick Wright don't know ball, this person don't know ball. Just because you disagree with one of their takes last year, they don't know ball.
I don't know ball. Nick Wright definitely does not know basketball. There ain't no way in hell you're gonna convince me otherwise. I'll test it. I'll test it for you right now. Okay, here's a question for you. If you had to bet your life that you got your life on the line, that Stephen A. Smith has watched one full Detroit Piston game all year from start to finish, no clipping quarters, no clipping possessions.
No way.
You wouldn't bet your life on that, right? So
no, I wouldn't.
So this is what I'm saying.
I wouldn't bet my life that I watched a full Sacramento Kings game this season.
You wouldn't bet your life on anything, is what you're saying.
Right. Well, I'm just, what I'm saying, because 48 minutes of basketball is a lot of basketball.
Okay. Forget life. Would you bet $1,000 for a chance to win $100? So you put up 1,000 to 100. Okay, for a chance to win 100. Okay, you making some money. If it's a super safe bet. It's not,
10%, that's good. That's good numbers. I'm good with that. Keep going.
Okay, cool. Would you bet $1,000 to win $100 that Stephen A. Smith has watched a full Detroit Pistons game from start to finish this year?
No,
no, Pin. I don't think he did.
Okay,
I don't.
Perfect. Would you bet that he has watched a full Toronto Raptors game all year?
No,
I wouldn't bet it. I wouldn't bet anything but maybe a Lakers or a Knicks game.
Bingo. And that's my point. So look, bias exists in all walks of life.
But Pin, okay? can I watch 3/4 of a game, Pin, and give you a accurate analysis of how I think the game went? Let's say I watched the first, third, and fourth quarter. Would you be cool with that, Pin? Would you be like, you know what, I could accept you critiquing that game?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure. You watch however deeply you want to watch.
How off can you be?
Look, I think I was listening to John D. He made a video the other day breaking down Lowe's take on whether NBA journalists actually watch games. And a lot of it came from the fact that Shaquille O'Neal literally did not know who the coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers was. And, he thought Chauncey Billups was the coach of the Detroit Pistons. It was the Pistons. My bad. It was the Pistons. Chauncey coaching the Pistons instead of
he didn't just say the wrong name.
Well, no. he then defended.
He literally played Chauncey
saying, I don't watch
in the finals. Exactly.
That was his defense of his
exactly. And he said, I don't watch the Pistons, boo boo. And then he stated the wrong record for the Pistons. And I think that a lot of people justifiably have sort of jumped at that and said, well, listen, like if we're talking about tanking, it's our ratings being down, and you got the real talking heads of the league, and they barely watch basketball. I mean, let's be honest. Who he play for is a segment to show that Charles Barkley does not watch most teams play basketball. I love
Wait, the check they don't have votes though.
No,
Right.
they don't.
Okay.
Okay, but these are the talking heads. These are, you know, the guys who are representing the league on the biggest scale. They are
Correct.
like the faces of the league when it comes to NBA media. Brian Windhorst is a huge, you know, and I like the Hoop Collective podcast, and it's, you know, generally speaking, they're pretty well informed, but they're very well informed about specific things. They're very well informed about what's going on in New York. They're very well informed about what's going on with Luka and certain agents. There's a actual bias with how we talk about the league. And bias is, as I said, a really big part of how we make decisions in a day-to-day life. You might think you hired the best person for the job. You're like, no, he's the best. He was the most qualified. How did you make that decision that he was the most qualified? Because he went to your alma mater, because he had a symmetrical face, and because he was taller than the person that you thought was less qualified. But you may never, ever think that you hired a person because they were taller. I'm going to be honest with you. There is data historically to prove that men who are taller fare better in the workplace. So if you over 6'1", but it only works up until about 6'2", and then when you go to 6'4", 6'5", you actually fare worse than someone who's 6'2". There's data to prove that. We could actually go back. So once you acknowledge the numbers, then you can adjust. You could say, oh, so there's an actual bias towards someone who's 5'6" and a man, and someone who's 6'6" and a man, which means we're probably gonna, you know, overstress the 6'1s and the 6'2s. There's a bias towards people who have a stutter, for sure. We assume they're stupid. We assume people who are they might be slow, they might be whatever. There's a bias towards people who are cockeyed, or, you know, someone who's cross-eyed, or someone who doesn't have a symmetrical face. There's a bias towards people who talk a little bit slow. We assume things about people all the time. So what I'm saying is there's a bias towards small markets or versus big markets. There's a huge bias towards stars versus small, you know, there's a bias that exists. So when you are making an assessment and saying this guy is definitively the defensive player of the year, and you have a bias towards ball watching, and you have a bias towards large markets, then how the hell are you going to tell me Draymond Green is a definitively better player than Asar Thompson defensively? Right. How? Right. Make the case. You've watched 50 Draymond Green games this year. You haven't watched one single Asar Thompson game this year. You barely understand defense to begin with. Hell, the coaches barely understand defense to begin with. And you're going to make an assessment.
Now the coaches don't understand defense. Come on, bro.
Ox, hey Ox, we've seen a lot of these coaches that don't know what they're doing. Ox,
y'all blaming coaches? Y'all blaming coaches because players don't understand?
No. Hang on, Ox. How many times have
How many times?
I mean, I did hear Chauncey Billups say some stuff about Rudy Gobert that I find kind of funny. But I'm not gonna say the coaches.
How many times have we seen a coach say, "I need to watch the tape"? How many times? They were right there.
But that doesn't mean. But that doesn't. Whoa.
What you're saying is in real time, even the coaches can't see the injustice.
Right. That doesn't mean I don't understand it.
That's the coach wanting to make sure. I want to make sure I give y'all accurate information. So I'm not just going to answer it right now, because you know how many when you're on the sideline, there's thousands of things going on. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. You can't just ask me something like that. I believe that's a part of the reason why Pop used to be on that. Like, nah, you know, not right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm coaching right now. When I get done coaching, I'm still trying to make sure I know what happened. How did we get cooked like that? Or how did we cook like that? Don't just ask me. I'm not gonna come and, you know, just say any old thing. Like, that doesn't mean that he didn't understand it, Penn. That's crazy. Like, I just hate it when we do that. I've been saying that for a while. Like, we gotta stop assuming that we just know more than these GMs and coaches, just because they do something that you wouldn't do. If you were in that position, you don't know what you would do.
Right, I understand that part.
I would bet dollars to donuts.
They don't know ball because he didn't do what I did. Like, what?
Okay,
come on,
that same $1,000 to $100 bet you took that you wouldn't take, that Stephen A. Smith has watched a full Pistons game.
That's a bad bet. Who watches 48 minutes of Pistons basketball?
Pistons fans. Okay, number one. Hang on.
I watched Pistons games this year too.
Wait, no. But I'm saying that's not a knock to the Pistons, though. That's not a knock. That's just basketball.
You wouldn't take that bet with Stephen A. Smith, right?
A lot of people can't sit. A lot of people don't sit through 48 minutes of basketball. That's what I'm saying. Like a fan or not.
You wouldn't take that bet with Stephen A. Smith. Would you take that bet? Would you take that bet with Mars Talk Sports? That Mars has watched a full Pistons game from start to finish. Be honest.
Now,
would.
Pim, before I answer this question, this is not, all love to you, Morris. That don't mean I think Morris is gonna sees the game better than Stephen A. Just because Morris sat through 48 minutes
Oh,
and
he
Stephen A. sat through
definitely
30,
does.
just because hold on, Pin. Just because Morris watched 48 and Stephen A. watched 38, that don't mean, you know what I'm saying? Like
Stephen A. Smith ain't watching
Yeah,
38 minutes of
I,
pissing.
I'd bet
don't
on
know,
myself.
bro.
I'd bet on myself above Stephen A. But that's
I would bet 100%, because I know I've seen Morris sit down and watch 48 minutes of games. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I can see that. All I'm saying is I'm not knocking you because I don't think you watched 48 minutes of this game. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because I know for a fact I don't watch a whole. I rarely watch a whole game because you can't do that, bro. It's 10 games on at once. I'm watching this. I flip over here for 5 minutes. I flip over here for 5 minutes. I'm watching it.
We're getting stuck on we're getting stuck on the wrong point. I don't care.
No, we're getting stuck. We're getting stuck. We keep thinking that that these people don't know what they're doing because we don't agree with them. And to Draymond's point, a lot of that is true. Like a lot of that is true as far as just going off of stats and stuff like that. Like, but I don't
think somebody doesn't know what they're doing because I don't agree with them. I don't agree with 85% of. I don't agree with like 30-40% of.
Everybody's stupid, you Pin.
That's not true.
As soon as you hear something that's a little off to you, they're just done. Are you writing them off? They're done. They don't know.
That's not true at all. That is not true at all. If I genuinely now look, you and I have gone back many times back and forth, and I have told you straight up to your face, you are not watching these Raptor games. And the reason I say that is because as someone who is watching them once, not just once, but twice, I'm watching them once. And then I'm making notes. Like you see how Swiper watches Denver Nuggets games, right? Yep. And you and I can probably agree that when it comes to Denver Nuggets basketball, Swiper is a very knowledgeable dude. He could talk to you about plays down the stretch. He could talk to you about quarters. He could talk to you about segments of the game. He can break it down. And there's a reason for that, because while he's watching the game, he's taking notes. And then probably, I'm not going to speak for Spike, but I'm assuming that after the game, he's actually going back to certain segments of the game and slowing them down and saying, like, what really happened there with Russ? What really happened there with Aaron Gordon? What really happened on that botch coverage? And so what I'm trying to say is that watching 48 minutes is not the stamp of approval. It's the bare freaking minimum. What you need to do if you really want to actually understand what the hell you're talking about with basketball is you need to actually watch the game. Number one, you need to be the type of person who can watch it slow in the first place, which means that you really need to understand the game well enough that you can actually.
That's what you just need to know ball, Pin. Like I said earlier, some people, like I said earlier, some people got to work 18 hours a day and they still suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Some people could just watch the game and be like, oh. Got you. I know what's going on here.
Penn, there's plenty of people who watch basketball that don't know what they're looking at. To Ox's point, there's plenty of people who watch basketball that don't understand the game, but because they look at the box score and this 20 points in the third quarter sounds good, they try to add that to the logic. When in reality, it doesn't make sense at all because you don't know how that 20 points got there. You don't know how that 20 points affected the game. You have no idea how this rebounding affected the game. And just because I'm watching a 48-minute game, to your point, which is the bare minimum, does not mean that I understand the game. And a lot of these people, and when I talk about people, I'm talking about media personalities. A lot of these people, they don't understand the game. I think that they do have people working for them that understand the game and are schooling them, and them recognizing that they don't understand it. I'm 100% confident that that's going on, but I'm not just going to sit here and say that these people that are watching games or that are on TV, that they just know it all, or these coaches that I've seen coaches where I'm like, I don't think you're doing a good job at that. And I might have done a better job in that specific situation. Does that mean that I should be the head coach of that team? No, it doesn't. Does that mean that I would have done a different rotation? Yes, it does mean that. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. That doesn't mean that neither.
I just think at the end of the day, if we can all agree that we trust our own eyes or our own opinions more than we trust these people, whoever they may be, who's voting for these awards, we should probably not care so much about the awards. But I mean, we're not going to.
I've always cared about them.
But you just said 20 seconds ago that you don't think they will know the game. So why do you care?
Right. Here's the difference, because there's some merit behind, just because it's coming from just because it's coming from some people who don't get it, that doesn't lessen what it is. I do care.
That's what it should do, though. It should lessen.
Well, see, and that's what I mean when I say that there's some people who we should change the system and the people who are voting, because the award itself means something. To be a league MVP means something. To be the defensive player of the year means something. The fact that somebody who's voting that doesn't know what they're talking about solely, maybe they should be replaced with somebody who does, to give it more to give it more merit, because being the defensive player of the year means something. Being the league MVP means something. Being the most improved player, that means something. And if I'm getting it from a guy who kind of knows what's going on, I think that kind of lessens it, and it shouldn't. It definitely shouldn't. Being an all-pro means something.
Let's say the PC introduces panelist of the year, and there's 3 options. Option number 1, audience award. Option number 2, your coworkers award, which means everyone on the panel literally votes for their panelist of the year. And option number 3 is just crackheads. Which one means the most to you?
Yeah, the crackheads give me my respect.
So if I win the crackheads choice, I really don't care about that. I'll toss that one in the garbage, right? I mean, you know what I mean? So it really
no respect for.
Yeah, I respect crackhead opinions, but you know.
So that's all I'm saying. It's like, it does matter who's voting on these awards, and you know what? Like, if you have people who are watching this game, like, and again, it's 30 teams. Some nights there's 14 games. There's only 24 hours in a day. These people got kids. They got lives. Nobody's watching all these games. I get that. Can we get a little bit better at it though? Like, these local guys, I'm assuming, watching these games. I'm assuming that if you cover the Boston Celtics, you're watching every Boston Celtics game. I'm assuming that, right? But what's interesting is if you're watching every Boston Celtics game, you're watching at least 4 Miami games every year, right? You're watching at least 4 Atlanta Hawks games every year.
You're not getting anything from 4 games of any team. Like, with all due respect. Okay, so you watch 4 Miami games. You're not okay. You can't tell me about Bam Adebayo because you watch 4 Miami games.
I feel, and
especially when you're watching the Miami games through the Boston lens. Like, you're watching what Boston do on offense and what Boston do on defense. You ain't even watching Bam Adebayo. Like, you're watching what Jason Tatum does against Miami's defense. You're not watching what Miami's defense is actually doing. So even then, like, that's why even the intern, like, Swiper watches Denver games. Absolutely. I will question Swiper on some things he thinks about the Nuggets, but I know Swiper watches Denver games. But then I'm not going to be like, well, because Denver and Minnesota are in the same division. I think they're in the same division. Are they?
Denver and Minnesota, yes. Then
because Denver and Minnesota are in the same division, I'm not gonna then say, oh, and Swiper also watches 5 or 6 Minnesota games a year, so he knows what's going on with Anthony Edwards, because he's watching Denver Minnesota games through the Denver lens. He's watching it to see what Jokic does against Minnesota's defense. He's watching it to see what Jamal Murray is doing against that ball pressure. He's not watching to see what Anthony Edwards is doing as a help side defender. He's not watching to see that. He doesn't care what Minnesota's help side defense is doing unless it forces a turnover on Jokic. And then it's like, well, Jokic should have made this read, or Michael Porter Jr. should have dove there to counter this defense. It's not like, oh, but that was a good.
Well, wait a minute, though, Mars.
He's just
he's
watching it through a Denver lens.
Well, even if he is watching it through a Denver lens, that doesn't mean that he's not recognizing what Minnesota is doing. That doesn't mean that he's not recognizing what.
But he's recognizing it through it affects Denver. That's how he's watching.
I think everybody watches with a lens. I think it just matters how skewed is your lens.
Right.
So if Swiper's watching with a 60-40 balance, where I'm more concerned about what Jokic is doing than what Zubac is doing, but I'm really watching Zubac defensively, and I'm at least acknowledging it. I feel like that's about as best as you can hope for. I don't think anyone's watching these games 50-50, Mars. I think everybody watches with a slight.
Swiper's watching it 99-1. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think he is. I think
Swiper himself would tell you he's watching them. He's watching that Denver Nuggets Wizards game, not like, oh, the Wizards, that was a good play right there. He's not watching like that. He's watching like,
I mean,
how are the Nuggets not able to break down this defense when all you got to do is do this? That's how he's watching. He's not watching be like, Keyshawn George really blew up the play right there because what he did. Like, he's not watching like that.
I'm sure.
Like, well, if MPJ just drifted to the deep corner there, we get an open shot. He's gonna be like, MPJ should have done this. That's why I was watching.
Well, sure he is, Mars, because that's how he recognizes how Minnesota's defense was so effective on Joker last year. So he is watching it in some aspect from an unbiased lens, because he has to see it that way. He can't just watch Denver, because if he just watches Denver, he can't.
How they affect Denver. That's what I'm saying.
100%. And if he's watching things, that means that he also has to see it on both sides in a good way. What I'm saying is that if he's watching it from that way, he also has to see what the other team is doing, good and bad, because Denver is not doing everything right. Denver is screwing up plays. Denver is turning the basketball over. Denver is missing shots.
Yeah, and he's
because
watching
Denver,
the turnovers. He's not watching what forced the turn. That's what I'm saying. If
Mm.
Jokic throws a bad pass, he's not like, oh, well, that was actually. He's not like, oh, that was a great dig down from Jaden McDaniels. He's watching Jokic make the mistake. When Anthony Edwards gets by the Nuggets' first line of defense in the pick and roll because they're in their high hedge and Anthony Edwards turned the corner. He's not watching Anthony Edwards turn the corner. He's watching Jokic out of position on that high hedge. So he's going to say Jokic should have done better. That's why he's watching. And I'm not saying Swiper is wrong for watching it that way. I'm saying guys, people who watch 82 games of their team are watching the game through their team's lens. And Penn watches every game of the Raptors. He said he watches it twice. He's taking notes. Penn is watching the games through the Raptors lens. He's watching the Raptors on defense and the Raptors on offense. That's what he's watching. And he'll notice things. He'll notice trends from other teams. He'll notice what the Pistons are doing against the Raptors. He'll see what Cade is doing.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, he's watching the Raptors defense on Cade.
Honestly,
he's
I
watching the Raptors offense against the Pistons defense.
I can't speak for Swiper because he's not here, but I speak for myself when I tell you that because I do cover the draft, I have a very, very deep interest in the league beyond the Raptors, which means that I do watch Yves Missi play basketball. I do watch Jordan Hawkins play basketball. I do watch Trey Murphy play basketball. I understand their tendencies very well. And when they're facing my team, I'm way more interested in watching what Yves Missi is doing than what AJ Lawson is doing. I'm gonna be honest about that 100%. It's from a pure basketball curiosity perspective. I'm more like curious about how these players are developing because obviously I have some very strong takes or very weak takes or wrong takes or right takes about them as prospects. I've watched them since AAU. I've watched them in the U circuit. I watched VJ Edgecombe play for the Bahamas. Now I'm watching him play at Baylor. Now I want to see him play in the league. So when his team comes to my town, I am definitely honing in on VJ Edgecombe. And that's why I think that if you are an aspiring basketball content creator out there, get into the draft, my guy, because that is going to make you very interested and invested in these players coming up. Oso Ighodaro, I had like a lot of, very interesting thoughts about him as a playmaking big last year in the draft cycle. I was very interested to see if the Raptors or somebody would take him. Now I watch him basically dominate the shit out of the Toronto Raptors in the last game. The Raptors get blown out. I'm definitely honing in on how Oso Ighodaro is helping Devin Booker score. I'm definitely watching Royce O'Neal. So I'm maybe it's because the Raptors are as bad as they are that is forcing me to watch other teams a little bit more closely, but I've always been like this. And I actually suspect a lot of people do watch games like this. I'm not some like, fanboy who's just like, oh, let me watch Scotty Barnes on every single possession. No, I'm watching everybody. I'm doing my best. And, I think we just need to change the culture of people thinking watching is enough. It's not enough. You're not smart enough. Like, nobody is smart enough to catch everything.
And that's what I'm saying. Why you speaking for people? Why can't you speak for Swiper, but you can speak for Stephen A? You can speak for Nick Wright. Like that's all I'm saying. It's like
I know Swiper.
So then why would you speak for, especially speaking for somebody that you don't even know? Then it's like we got to stop assuming that we know what these people are doing.
I mean,
no idea. Respectfully, Ox, I've been listening to Stephen A. Smith for 20 years.
No idea what these people. You have no idea what Stephen A. is doing this very moment. You don't know. You don't know because he get on TV and say whatever, boost ratings or whatever. But you don't know what that man is doing right now. You don't know what he was doing last night. You don't know who.
When someone says something nonsensical,
right? Can we listen to a guy? Right?
When Nick Wright says Reggie Miller was 18-3-3 and wasn't that great of a player, respectfully, I'm going to say that man won watching Indiana Pacers games. Like, I don't want to tell you.
That's not true at all.
He's going to form his opinions of 18-3-3. Then I'm going to. I think I have a valid backing to make my.
This is my thing. This is my thing. If I tell you accurately what's going on and whatever is going on, right, Mars? Let's say me and you watch a game, and I tell you what what's the kid I like in Utah? Phil Paskey. Let's say I'll tell you what he did, right? And you tell me what he did, and we both say what he did pretty similarly. Like we pretty much saw the same thing, but I'm like, this kid is great, and you're like, he's a bum. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have to have the same outcome on something that doesn't.
I'm not saying you have to come to the same conclusion.
Hang on. Let's
people can watch the same thing. People can watch
No,
the
we can
same thing
test
and
it.
come to a
And
completely
see it
different
completely
conclusion.
different.
We test
Yeah,
it.
it's
I
completely
totally
different.
understand that.
I'm
What I'm
gonna
saying
test.
is when
I'm
you
gonna
get
test
when
it
you
right
get to
now.
a point when you get to a point where the media out of their own mouths have said we don't watch these teams, we don't talk about these teams because no one's interested in these teams, and then they say things about said teams that by anyone who watches those teams would understand that's nonsense. I think I'm well within my right to say these guys aren't watching these games. When Nick Wright comes out of his mouth and says we don't talk about the Nuggets because no one wants to listen to us talk about the Nuggets, so we don't have to watch the Nuggets, and then he says Nikola Jokic is one of the worst multiple-time MVPs in NBA history. It's one of the worst. It's an MVP travesty that he keeps winning them. Then respectfully, I can say this man ain't watching Denver games. Like, I'm sorry, I think I have enough backing to say that. And I'm not saying he never watches basketball.
That's one thing, Morris. That's one thing. That's not even what I said. I'm not. If somebody's saying that they're not doing something, then you're not assuming. You're going off of that. I'm talking about assumptions, Morris. Now, if that's not what you're doing, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about assumptions that have been being made for the past 45 minutes. I'm talking about assumptions that I've heard routinely since I've been on YouTube with y'all. It's assumptions. We and a lot of times that's part of the gig. A lot of times we talk hypotheticals because that's part of the gig. I understand that, but sometimes it's like, bro, you have no idea.
Can I assume that Kevin Garnett is wrong and he's not watching basketball when he says that half of these dudes that play in the game today can't play 20 years ago? Can I assume that?
No,
watching the game.
That's his opinion. He sees some. He watching just like you watching, and you think this kid is good. He think this kid is weak as hell. So he's saying that you couldn't play with me. You think something different. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to assume that you're not watching because you don't see what I see. If you're watching something and you say, like I said, I'm repeating myself now because it's like I might think he's good, you might think he's bad. That doesn't mean that actually that means I did watch because I got an opinion on it. How I get an opinion if I wasn't looking?
Oh, you'll be surprised.
We do have guys who talk and they have no idea what they're talking about.
That is true. That is true, but all I'm saying is what I'm not gonna do is just assume. We're just making crazy.
I'm speaking for myself here. And I want to clarify what I said about the swiper thing earlier, but when I say someone isn't watching basketball, it's not based on their opinion. Their opinion could be whatever. They can think Kevin Durant isn't that good. Cool. That can be their opinion. It's based on the rationalization of said opinion. If your opinion of KD is he's not that good, he's overrated, and I might think KD is underrated. We both might watch the game but come to different conclusions. That's fine. But then when you explain KD is overrated because of reason, and all of those reasons are just flat out untrue, and you could just watch the game and see it's not true, then I'm going to say you're not watching the games. I don't care what and I say this all the time, I don't care if I'm right or I'm wrong. My opinion can totally be proven wrong. I said what I said about Zion a few years ago. That goes down as probably my worst take. When I said Zion wasn't a top 35 player, I got to 36 names, one of which I think was Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant. I was wrong. Absolutely, I was wrong. But my opinion came from me watching the game. If you listen to me break down Zion Williamson's game at that time, you heard me say things that I think were objectively true about his game. He couldn't finish with his right hand. He was limited outside the paint. The playmaking limitations were still there. He was bad defensively. Everything I said, I think, came from me watching the game, but my conclusion was still wrong. I came to an incorrect conclusion because I was just wrong. And I'm wrong a lot. I'm wrong very often. But what I won't accept is that I don't watch the games because I'm wrong. I can be wrong, but my opinions still come from me watching the game. Well, someone can be right, but their opinion still comes from them not watching the game. You can say something that's correct, but then I listen to you explain your rationale, and I'm like, well, it's not even making sense. You might come to Steph Curry's the greatest shooter ever. Someone can say that. I asked them why, and their reasonings just aren't true. It's just things that they're not even watching the games, but they're still right at the end of the day. Like their conclusion is right. For example, Ox thinks Ray Allen might be the best shooter ever. Let's say he does. I know Ox watches the games. Someone else thinks Steph Curry is the greatest shooter ever. They don't watch the game. I will still say Ox watches the game and the other guy doesn't, just based off their explanations. Even if I think Ox is wrong, even if I think the other guy is right, you can be right for the wrong reasons and wrong for the right reasons. I don't care about what your opinion is, as long as you can back it up and you actually watch the games. I say the things I say about Stephen A and the media in general because I listen to them talk. Sometimes they make sense. Sometimes, even if I disagree with them, it makes sense because these guys are watching Lakers games. Whether we want to, they watch Lakers games. I can understand that. What I'm not going to listen to is them talk about the Pistons when they ain't watching the Pistons, and I can hear it in the way they're talking about the Pistons. Like, I know they ain't watching the Pistons, so that's when I say they don't watch the games, when what they're saying doesn't match up with what's happening on the court. So that's when I say it, not whether or not I agree with their opinions. I disagree with a lot of you guys up here. I don't question if you guys watch the games. What I will question is if you guys have gone back and watched the games like I have. Like when I go back and watch a 2018 Houston series, or when I go back and watch a 2014 OKC game. I know that's what I'm doing. So I'll speak for myself in that regard. And then back on the Swiper thing, I never said Swiper only watches Denver. What I said was someone who watches all 82 games of a team. When they're doing that,
like
because their job is to cover the team. Swiper works for Locked On Nuggets. His job is to cover the Denver Nuggets. So when he's watching Nuggets games, he is watching games through the Nuggets perspective. That does not mean when he watches the Rockets and the Grizzlies play, he's watching that through the Nuggets. Like, oh, what would Jokic do? I'm not saying that. No,
Sure.
He can watch that game and come to a conclusion between those teams. But when your job is to cover an NBA team, your job is to cover the Denver Nuggets. Best believe Swiper is watching the Denver Nuggets on defense and the Denver Nuggets on offense. That's what I'm saying.
Moss, can we say the same thing about you?
But he watches multiple teams. Of course he does.
With that being said, Moss, can we say the same thing about you as a fan? Like, you watch the Houston Rockets. You watched every game of them this season. Are you only watching through the lens of the Houston Rockets? And the stuff that you see from other teams, you're watching that through Houston.
Well, it's not my job to cover the Rockets. So I watch Rockets games. I watch a lot of Rockets games. I think the only game I've missed, was the Orlando game last week.
Right.
I think I watch Rockets games, but I don't watch Rockets games just to see what the Rockets do, because I'm a fan of the NBA. Like, the Rockets are like the team I root for the most, but I'm a fan of the NBA. Like, I watch teams just because I want to watch basketball. And at the end of the day, I think the NBA is the best place to watch basketball. So I'm different than a guy like Swiper, whose job is literally to cover the Nuggets. I'm different from a guy whose job is to cover just the Boston Celtics in that regard. And I'm not saying the way I watch games is correct. Like, you can't be as wrong about Zion as I was and then say that, I'm the barometer on how to watch games, because clearly my conclusions aren't always right. So that's fine. But I think I can understand that when your job is to cover a team, you're going to focus more on that team. And that's fine. Everyone has their biases, like Penn said. I have my own biases. There's things I prefer in a player that tend to be just quite arbitrary. I prefer this style of play than this style of play. Oh, why do you prefer that? Because I think this is more impactful than that. Why do you think that? Well, because I've seen these results lead to this. So that means in all situations, this is more valuable. No, that's not what that means. But that's.
But Mars, I got to give you some pushback on that. You said that's the best place to watch basketball. Did you not watch any Unrivaled, Mars?
I did not know. I don't think.
Shout out to Angel Reese.
Tell me where I can watch it. Tell me where I can watch it. Let me know.
Oh, it's over now. It's over now. It's over now. But
tell me where I could have watched it. Tell me where
it was on TT. It was on TT. It was on True TV and one more place. I was only catching it on TNT though. These
things don't. I can promise you, this was not on TV where I reside.
Right.
So I'll use that as my excuse.
Shout out to the point guard, Chelsea Gray. She did it again. She just can't. She can't stop winning.
But anyway,
she's keeping receipts too, by the way. But I know we gotta get the super chats.
Yeah, we've been caught up in this.
She heard the chatter. She heard the chit chat.
She's keeping receipts. She did say that.
We got 25 minutes. We'll get through these super chats on time. I don't want to hold you guys over time. Z6 BCM said Mars going through 4-0 in a 3-round debate is crazy.
Why'd you debate two? Bro, that was crazy.
I think I won. I am confident I'm into round 2. I am confident we'll find out on Friday. Today, Penn, you're going right against Finesse West.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait.
We have Pirate and Brax tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. I think they kick it off. Then we have ZZ and Riv. The second debate. I know that's Ox's favorite. That's the one he's looking forward to. And then we are capping it off with Penn versus Finesse West, and then we will be done with round 1. So tap into the PCL tonight. 7 p.m. Eastern, which I believe is 4 p.m.
And then check into Playback and watch me and Chill. It's Chill and I tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Chill, you're on Playback again? W. But yeah, my quick predictions. I got Brax winning, I got Riv winning, and I got Penn winning. But we'll see how right I am. Cowboy Bob, someone who is also in the PCL, and we'll see if he's in the second round. He would be my opponent in the second round if he wins. He said Mobley had a bad defensive game. He was taken to the basket by Harden and Kawhi. Why? Allen wasn't on the floor at Mars. LOL. Just playing good game though. Mobley didn't have the greatest defensive game. We did allude to that earlier, but I still think he's the front runner for defensive player of the year, contrary to what Draymond is trying to get himself into the race for. SMN RNDM said, Chill previously, he played too many games and got injured close to the playoffs. He's talking about Kawhi. Last season, got injured and recovered too close to the playoffs. This year, he started playing and is ramping up at the right time. He terrifies me.
We're going to find out. We will find out if he can hold up.
I hope so. That's all. I hope he can hold up. D3 said Orlando needs to go after players like Cam Thomas or Jordan Poole to help their offense. It will make them a 5th seed, maybe an Eastern Conference Finals team.
They that good anyway. They got riddled with injury. That was the problem with Orlando. They just got riddled with injuries this year. If they had been healthy and Paolo had been healthy all season long, I think they're a top 5 seed in the East.
I don't think that's their only problem. I think shooting has been historically bad, like really, really bad. And I do wonder sometimes, what is the relationship between the aggressive defense and tired legs on offense? Because they've had some. They've had some
from 3 as a team.
Like that's crazy.
That's awful. That is awful.
Yeah, it's bad. By far the worst percentage. The next closest team is at 33.5%. So like by far the worst 3-point shooting team in the NBA.
31 and 33% don't really sound like much, but it's a huge gap.
Yes, it's a big gap. And they're also like bottom 7 in attempts. So they don't shoot many, and when they do, they miss them. So it's bad. It's bad for them. Trash. Shout out to the Magic. Hopefully they can figure out their offense soon. 8 Gates Lee said more points and rebounds than both bigs combined. Demon Zoo on one this year. He did have 28 and 20.
Yes, he did. He was awesome last night. Mm-hmm.
Does he have some love for Defensive Player of the Year? I don't hear his name ever brought up in that conversation, and he should be in that conversation. He is anchoring one of the best defenses in the league. He is definitively their most impactful defender. I would say I won't say definitively. Him and Chris Dunn are really splitting duties on that one. Yeah. But I mean, it's a great team defense, but everything is funneling towards him. So
is Zubac an all-league defender this year?
I think he'll make first team or second team All NBA.
I think he should be. Whether or not he makes it, I don't know, but he should be, in my opinion. So I'll just say that he definitely should be. Whether or not he makes it, that's down to the voters. I'm not going to say if he doesn't make it, the voters don't know ball, but he would be on my ballot. I'll say that.
See, this take brought to you by people who actually watch the Clippers. See what I mean? See what happens when you actually watch teams play basketball? Mm-hmm. You can come up with original shit. Otherwise, you're just recycling the same bullshit that everybody else saying.
Or maybe we just say nonsense because we don't watch the game and we just want to be different. I don't know.
No, I've fully felt what you said about that Zion thing, and you know what? I'll prove it right now. I'll say one thing: if we can all agree that the Sacramento Kings are not a good defensive team, could literally look up one stat in 1 minute and figure out that conclusion real quick. But if I came up here and said the Sacramento Kings are not a good defense because Keon Ellis is a weak defender, you damn well know I ain't watched the Sacramento Kings game, right?
100%. You're not watching them. So if you came to that conclusion, no.
So that's it, right? Mm-hmm. So if you telling me Toronto's defense has been on a tear because Emmanuel Quickley's so great defensively, I know you don't watch Toronto Raptors.
Oh, you frying gifted? You frying gifted right now?
Oh, that was a subtle drive by.
Yeah, I heard him. I heard. Shout out to Scotty Barnes, by the way. Good defensive year. Just wanted to give him some flowers.
But you know how I know Mars is watching? Because the minute Scotty turned it around. I want to say Scotty turned it around defensively about 2-3 months ago. Mm-hmm. He was right on it. He's like, Scotty Barnes been playing good defensively lately. I'm like, there you go. Mars actually watching Raptor games.
Mm-hmm. I watch games. Petty Hardaway, this is from the beginning of the show. Chill, who's the best ISO player ever?
Jordan.
He wishes it was James Harden in isolation. SMN RNDM said Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, OKC, Nuggets, and Wolves. I won't be super shocked if any of them makes it out of the West. This playoff's about to be lit. I'd be shocked if the Wolves got out the West. I'd be shocked if anyone but OKC got out the West. I'd be quite surprised.
I had Minnesota going to the finals. and I had to come off that considering what I was watching throughout the season. I was like,
I'm gonna get back on that shit.
I might. I'm gonna hold the phone.
We ignore that.
I'm gonna hold the phone. But yeah, I had to come out of the West, and then I had to come off that. Like, I don't know if I love this.
If OKC's healthy and they don't make it out the West, I'd be either very pleasantly surprised by the team that beats them, or very disappointed in OKC. Yeah. I keep saying, I see the avenue in which they lose. I don't see how they lose 4 times just because of that. Like, it's hard for me to see that, but we'll see.
I feel like Yeah, like I feel like OKC might have to face 3 contenders to make it to the finals. That's
Yeah,
a
that is
great,
tough. That is
you
tough.
know, like the last time when I remember that happening was the Raptors when they had to face they faced 3 contenders. They faced the Bucks, they faced the Sixers, and they faced the Golden State Warriors. That's a tough path. Sometimes you get to the finals, you don't have to face a single contender. OKC might legitimately face 3 contenders. So if they win a championship this year, I want everyone to give them their flowers.
When they get to the finals, it was easy. By the time they get to the finals, it's nothing.
Gunny said, "Fire Doc, someone save us, Mike Brown, please."
Ugh.
I've been forgetting Mike Brown isn't a coach anymore. Shout out to Doc Rivers, man.
Shout out to Mike Brown.
Rods by P said Kawhi saving his best for the playoffs. Sensational. I hope that's what's happening. If we get top 5 Kawhi, top 6, top 7 player Kawhi in the postseason, I'll be
Don't
pleasantly
get
surprised.
scared. Hey, don't get scared now.
Hey, I'm not scared. I'm here. I'm here for it. Let James Harden get a ring.
Is James Harden a top 50 player in the NBA right now? Yep.
Yes.
Is Kawhi?
Yeah. Yes.
Is Zubac?
Yes. Probably.
Is Norman Powell?
Maybe.
If you got 4 top 50 players
he's right
on your,
there.
on
Yeah,
your
maybe.
team,
Right there.
Maybe.
Right.
Hmm.
I'm saying like this
Kawhi,
team-
first of all, Kawhi is back. He's top 10.
Damn, he back. You ready to say that already?
Hell yeah, I've been ready to say. I just,
Damn.
just been chilling.
he's had 2 games that have been like top 5. He's had maybe 8 games that have been like top 30. But I trust this dude. I know what he is.
Don't be scared now.
I mean, I want to see that.
I ain't
Kawhi.
scared. I'm gonna let you have it for the day. I ain't scared. I got to see it. I got my seatbelt. I got my seatbelt on in the back seat. I do.
But he's not better than LeBron right now.
But just
No,
so
that
you
means
know,
he's not
Ox,
better. That means he's not better than Scotty Barnes.
just so you know, Ox, the door is unlocked. Because I will jump out this car. Yes, I will. Yes, 100%. I will jump out this
That's
car.
how
when I see
you
it
know I
crash.
ain't watching Laker games, right?
So,
That's how you
as you
know
were
I
saying,
ain't
Mark, I
watching Laker
apologize.
games.
Mhm.
I didn't want to say it, man. Hjalmar Skeet Nilsson with a similar question said, "Who other than Harden is the best ISO player?" Chill already said Michael Jordan. Mark Kin said, "I've always said if I was an athletic lob threat big, the players I would want to play with would be Harden, Luka, Bron, and CP3. I think you can throw Trae Young in that mix. Yeah, Trae Young would definitely be in that mix. I don't know who else, but Trae Young I'll definitely throw in there.
Hallie?
He plays better with poppers, in my opinion, just because of how comfortable he is in that. I don't know if he's a lob big, but with poppers, yeah. If I'm a Miles Turner, if I'm a Quentin Post, like I would want to play with.
Has he played?
Oh, I hate Quentin Post.
I mean,
Why?
I think
my
Halliburton
God.
has played with a lot of stretch bigs. He's played with Pascal. He's played with Obi. He's played with
That could be
whatever. So
well, Obi's a lot better. I mean, but I just think Tyrese Halliburton's more comfortable with poppers. But maybe that is because I haven't seen him with that legitimate lob threat, which is definitely possible. But I mean, I'm watching Trae Young with Clint Capella, who at this point isn't even a lob threat, but he's making him one. So I just think there's a different level. Yeah, I think that's just a different level. The Trib one said All-Star Game MVP gives their team the 15th pick. Every year there will be 31 first-round picks instead of 30. Would the NBA do it?
No. The All-Star game is not affecting any draft picks. No, it is not.
I don't get the point of that.
Mm-mm.
LaFlame said Mars about to make my monthly pay off of debating dudes like Matthew Elliott. Okay. Can we respect my opponent, please? Shout out to Matthew Elliott. Took guts to show up, had his camera on, even though he faded away into the darkness as the debate went on, but he had his camera on. And I think it was just a bad matchup. I think Matthew Elliott would have beat some people. He just happened to come up against someone who I think he lost to. But I think Matthew Elliott is being underrated because he went up against the 2017 Warriors. Whereas if he went up against a team that was maybe not a juggernaut, he could have competed and took it to 7 games. So I think you guys are judging him because
Mars, you the 2022 Warriors at best.
I mean, I'm probably the 64 Celtics. I'm just trying to be respectful.
Okay.
But you know, but I think Matthew Elliott is being underrated because he's going up against all-time great competition. That's what I think. That's what I think happened. Matthew Elliott would have beat some people in the first round. He just had a bad matchup.
Just a couple times. I just want to say that anybody else that's watching wild cards or anything, anybody that's going today, if you're a wild card, just you know what I'm saying, just breathe. Don't be too nervous. Just have fun, talk ball, and just breathe. I think the one guy who was it yesterday? Man, I'm
Renegade?
sorry, I forgot his name.
No,
The kid from North Carolina, Ryan.
Oh,
I think
Chicago
I think
Bulls.
Ryan
The one
Ryan
who
was
went against SB. One who went against SB.
yeah against SB. Ryan was doing really good, but I just think I think he was kept getting nervous and it's kind of
He
like
still won though.
He
I don't know. I don't know about all that. I'm not judging any debates. I'm just saying, you gotta just breathe, bro. Just have fun and breathe.
Again, I feel like how you say things does matter. If you saying a lot, you stammering a lot, you need to like shuffle your papers a little bit. I'm gonna dock you. I'm gonna dock you some points. And by the way, if you pull out your belt to literally whip your opponent, I'm giving you the win on that one. So shout out.
Hey,
to
not if you white and your opponent's black. But I mean,
okay, if you do that, then you just get banned right away. But
yeah, exactly. So it depends on the context. But shout out to Ryan. I think he won last night. Shout out to Renegade. I think he won last night too. So I do think 2 wild cards won. So I mean, I think the wild cards did pretty well. I think Matthew Elliott could have won if he went against SB too. He just had a tough matchup. So like stuff happens.
we just SB just catching stray after stray.
Oh, it's not a stray. This is he in the crosshair. It's not a stray at all. This is we aiming for him. Fent Jones said, win a couple games now. Trade moves is crazy.
That was about the with Penn's idea of the lottery.
Win a couple games.
I do want to say, like, I mean, and this is sort of an underrated.
Oh, is that the kind of thing I alluded to about how you're going to make win now trades as a lottery team?
And you drop to 6 instead of 5.
Okay,
yeah.
I get what you said.
I feel like one of the more underrated parts of the PCL is like you really do want to get sharp early. Like you want to get tested early so like you can you can get into your game a little bit. You can get into your grind. You can get prepared. I got to face the Bobcats today. And my next round opponent is going to be either Casual or Logan.
So you're not going to be warmed up for real competition is what you're saying?
I mean,
I'm going to have to see SB in the next round. That's who I'm going to have to see.
Okay, so
I don't know.
I guess there's a losers bracket where the 2 losers face.
Nope, it's a winners bracket. I'm going to have to see SB in the next round.
I don't know why SB there.
I'm just saying to everyone who drew an easy, first round matchup, it might be a curse, and to anyone who drew a really hard matchup like Jordan, I don't know what the hell we're doing here, having Jordan and Carson in the first round. Like that could have been a finals. That could have been like a quarterfinals. That could have been something. You and I have very different expectations of Jordan. Okay, first of all,
no, my expectations are higher now.
I'm gonna call you out on this because I've been very complimentary to you as our W host today. But you kind of sneak this in Jordan every single time you pay him a compliment. It's a little bit backhanded. It's like
I said I gave you my
basically. Let me translate everything you said about Jordan so far. You basically like Jordan. You did better than I thought you would. And basically what you're really saying is you're not as stupid as I thought you were.
No, hey.
We're not doing
it.
Yes.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that, Mars.
I keep saying this.
Jordan heard it too. That's why Jordan came out.
I keep saying this with these debates. It's not about intelligence. It's not. You could be the smartest person.
Sounds like it's
and be a terrible debater.
Yes,
I thought Jordan was a terrible debater from my experience when this man said Trae Young and Magic Johnson were the same. So I was like, okay, he goes against
basically are.
I'm to get fried.
I'm kidding.
Like it wasn't it's not about whether or not I think you're smart or stupid. It's about whether or not I think you're a good or a bad debater. I thought Jordan was a terrible debater.
But I do want to say this though. Speaking like, regardless of who's a good debater, bad debater, whatever, I will say this: this PCL is dope. Like I'm not gonna lie. I was watching the day when Jordan went and watching yesterday, and I just really enjoy listening to basketball debates. This is a really good concept, really good idea. We just doing it different over here at PC. I'm telling you, this PCL is amazing. I'm enjoying it. I hope y'all 3 are enjoying it as much as I am. This is fun. It don't matter to me who's winning, who's losing. Just good all around hoop talk. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait for today. I know Penn. I know how you coming. I know you about to cook. I can't wait for the Riv and ZZ matchup. I get excited when we talk hoop, man. This PCL is dope, bro. This PCL is amazing.
And word of advice, you only get a minute and a half. So, like, just put it out there. You know, sometimes you take about 16 minutes to get to the crux of the argument. So you just
Pin is 1.5 minutes going to be an issue for you.
Was it an issue last time?
I don't think so. Pin. I'm just going off of.
I'm gonna say one thing. You know, the reason that I trusted Jordan is not because I agree with his Derrick White over what did he say? Dennis Schroeder over Derrick White, literally putting one of my most hated NBA players of all time above one of my most beloved. It's not because I agree with everything Jordan says. It's because I know Jordan. I've known Jordan for a while, and I know Jordan works, and I know Jordan is coming correct when there's $5,000 on the line. Is sometimes you just got to trust people. When you find out who they are, you just got to trust it. And when Jordan sees $5,000 on the line and he sees Mars picking him to lose in the first round, I'm like, oh damn,
get destroyed in the first round.
Oh yeah. You picked him to get destroyed in the first round. Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's like you just got to trust that, right? So if you're telling me right now that in a natural setting, would I be predisposed with am I predisposed to do well in a situation where there's a 1.5 minute timer? No. But you put $5,000 on the line, I'll get my point across in eight words or less.
That's what I'm saying. I'm tripping, yo. I'm my bad. Like, am I the only one to see it for a good time? I keep forgetting that there's money on the line. Like,
you forgot.
I'm really here to have fun,
yeah,
you forgot. I already got the credit card.
Yeah, the money's not really the fire. Yeah, I'm not bothered about winning the money or whatever. But I guess when it hits my account, then I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, nice. But I want my second belt. That's what I want. I want my second belt.
You're not getting a second belt. You just keeping the same one that you have. Like all you're doing is saving on the shipping costs.
I'm getting my second belt. That's what I'm getting. I'm getting my second belt.
Money, man.
You could just buy one, okay? You could buy like 18 belts, like 100 belts. You could probably buy 100 belts. There's probably like some Alibaba store where you could buy like 100 of those belts. Mars, come on, man, $5,000.
No, but I want my belt. Me buying the belt ain't the same as
that. That is some actual bread. And you know what? And no disrespect to the PCL, yeah, there are some heavy hitters here. I love the fact that Nerd Sesh is on. I love the fact that River's on. I love the the PC fam that's on. But there is some real like weak links on, and I'm surprised that with the draw of $5,000 that there were not even better competitions.
Weak links, like
yes,
who,
yeah. Say names.
I mean, you shouted out the top hats. You shouted out the heavy hitters like Nerd Sesh. I'm just curious.
We ain't got to talk.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Like, this is fun, but then it turns into something else. And then
the names.
No, because
I don't want to be like Mike.
Ruckus is fun to me.
I don't want to be like Mike. I don't want to be like Mike. It's Mike, okay? It's Mike. It's Mike, and people like Mike, okay?
Mike, that's crazy. Mike pulled up and stood on his nuts, Pin. He might not have been as good as you would have been.
Who's gonna be in round 2?
No, he's
Mike's
not
gonna be in round 2.
No, he's not, Mom.
Chill pulling through, or we boycott. Come on, man.
Okay.
Solidarity.
Who is we?
There you have it.
I love you, Chill, but shit.
Yeah, I love you too, Chill, but $5,000 is a lot of money.
If y'all think I'm out,
it'll be a good thing.
I don't think you lost.
It's going to be one of those silent boycotts.
Certain people aren't judges, so that's what
I was talking about earlier, Chill. That's some people got the right to vote, and some people shouldn't have the right to vote. I think we spent too much time talking about people that don't have the right to vote. You know what I mean? Damn, my opinion. I think you won, Chill, but it don't matter. I don't got.
I feel like if we got the word out about $5,000, I feel like you could get 32 of the best internet debaters, like in basketball. Just
how many do you think the PCL has? How many? We don't have 32, obviously, because you don't think Mike is good. So how many do you think we have?
6, 5.
Are you in the 6?
I'm borderline.
Yes, Pen. You can say
you're in the conversation. You're in the conversation.
No. You can be modest, and that's fine. You can be modest. Yes,
we are adjusting. We are adjusting strategy. Last year we came in very heavy with the whole I'm gonna take the money, I'm gonna take the belt, I'm gonna take whatever, and then boom, got bounced. So this year we adjust. We move different. We walk with what Greg Popovich calls appropriate fear. We respect our opponent, even when that opponent is
You
the
respect
Charlotte
Finesse West?
Bobcats. And we know that Finesse West could literally have a Slumdog Millionaire moment where he just literally just comes out of nowhere and upsets a really good opponent. So it could
Would
happen.
it be an upset if he won? We'll see tonight.
Sure.
Mello Williams says, I'm trying to get chill off of the Mobley DPOY trade. Are you
I
off
don't
the trade?
understand why you are. I'm sitting in first class with my feet up.
Why don't you start the Jason Tatum for DPOY? Just
'Cause I don't
start.
think no, I'm not going to do that. No.
No? Okay, cool.
He's an honest Jason Tatum fan. He just thinks he's the best
Yeah.
American player of all time.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Shamar Trusty said Dyson Daniels for DPOY. The most steals, 194 in 15 years.
Dyson's been amazing defensively.
He is 100%.
That was Ricky Rubio who had it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in 2014, I think. He
Mhm.
had 100 and something. Shout out to Ricky Rubio. Was averaging
When you
like
actually listen to Dyson Daniels discuss his defensive strategy and how he gets these steals and how he's like watching these opponents and how he's studying tape, I'm like, damn, like this dude is a real student of the game. And I just want to say, it seems that there is a trend of players leaving New Orleans and doing very well.
Penn, if you didn't hear Dyson Daniels say that, right? Just by watching him play basketball, would you assume that he broke down film and everything he said he does?
Absolutely. I've been watching him since G League Ignite. I've been a huge fan of his. I was literally in his rookie season. I went on my boy's podcast. He's a Sacramento Kings podcaster, and I said y'all should have picked him over Keegan Murray, and he thought I was crazy.
You are crazy.
Sure. I think I legit thought he was the fourth best player. People don't remember this because people have pretty selective amnesia. Do you know coming into the draft cycle that Dyson was being mocked in the second round? Coming into that draft cycle, people were like, he might be a first round pick, and then he worked out very well and he moved up into the lottery and people thought it was a reach. I really feel like even in the limited minutes that I've seen him play live 3 times now, because I watched 3 Pelicans games live against Toronto. I've seen him play live. I think one of the games he didn't play. He stands off the page every time I've watched him play. Like his physicality, his attention to detail, his
Maul's the one who turned me on to him.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, Maul's the one who turned me.
And he's only going to get better. He's going to get better. I don't think he's in a great situation right now in Atlanta. Wait till that situation gets a little bit better. Wait till Jalen Johnson comes back and he's playing with those other wings. I mean, what are we noticing with all these really, really good defenders? Is they're playing with a lot of other really good defenders. Jalen Johnson's a pretty good defender, right? So, I mean, shoot, like let's wait till next year. He probably will retire with a couple of DPOYs for sure.
Trevi said maybe that bum Divac should have drafted Luka when he had the chance, like many of us sack-grown Kings fans wanted. But years later, we got certain fans going on live streams justifying his decision.
Yeah, there ain't no justifying his decision. Respect to Vlade, but that was a stupid decision.
Marvin Bagley was so dope. I don't know why y'all try to know what we got is people looking back in hindsight and seeing
at the time I said Luka should have been number 1.
Yeah, at the time maybe you did, but a lot of people were really, really excited about Marvin Bagley, and we can pretend like he wasn't.
I was high on Marvin Bagley.
We can all pretend like Marvin Bagley wasn't the best player in the country when he got drafted second, and that's fine. I mean, at the time it was.
I like Marvin Bagley.
Now it's obviously now it was a very, very bad decision, but at the time it was Marvin Bagley. So no big deal.
Jay Takashi said, "Did you see that Warriors vs Bucks game? Proud of Jimmy Buckets leading the charge in Steph's absence. The team played great. Draymond guarded Giannis, elite defense. Chilltown and Penn, your thoughts?" We
talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it.
The Warriors keep winning without Steph Curry. Just noticing.
7-3 without him in the lineup.
Interesting. Teddy Hart, which all-time busts do you believe were mainly due to situation versus their actual talent? For example, Anthony Bennett, Kwame, Hashim, Darko, Adam Morrison, etc.
All of them, except for Darko, maybe. I just don't think Anthony Bennett was good enough. I don't. For the expectations
so
that
you're saying all of them were just busts. That's what it's
saying. Yeah. I don't think Kwame Brown had the work ethic. I don't think Anthony Bennett, for the expectations that was on him, I don't think he was good enough. Hakeem Thabit.
Well, Adam Morrison got hurt, so
he did get hurt. I think he tore his ACL later on. That was later on.
It was going into year 2. I think he tore his ACL. I think. I'll check, but I'm pretty sure it was going into like year 2. He tore his ACL. I'm not saying he was going to turn into an all-star.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah, it was year 2. He tore his ACL.
I think
preseason, year 2,
I think
yes.
there's a ton of players that, in theory, when you look at them as prospects, even in hindsight, with the benefit of hindsight, you really can't justify or understand their failure. Mario Hezonja is the one player that sticks out to me as like that's surprising to me that he failed. He had a lot of successful qualities, you know. There's others for sure. There's others for sure that come to mind where it's like, I don't know how that player failed. Like, they had the processing, they had good court mapping, they had good size, positional versatility. Why did they fail? Like, they don't have any character flags, whatever. I don't know.
Yep.
Jesus, shout out Jesus, said TJ McConnell over Peyton Pritchard. Dub, Chill, Penn, Mars, and Ox. Is TJ McConnell better than Peyton Pritchard?
No. We can move
TJ's
on.
very, very good basketball
I'm
player,
good.
though.
No.
But I value the 3-point shooting of Peyton.
When insert slur is done in Dallas, we will know the story.
Because he's gonna do a podcast.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess. Minor and Andrew Luciano became members today. Shout out to you guys. This is a 2-part super chat, so I'm gonna read both of them. Teddy Hart said, Chill is absolutely right. I'd trust a dedicated team of scouts and analysts with votes, even a carefully crafted algorithm, 1,000 times more than somebody who's merely a media member. Tired of the favoritism, inflated sense of importance, voter fatigue, legacy gatekeeping, and flat-out stupidity that we've all witnessed. Jokic literally lost out on an MVP because Perkins played the race card on national TV.
Yeah, it is.
He's not wrong.
I do agree. If you're gonna get the awards right, I don't think you can say people shouldn't win for reasons that aren't about what they're doing on the basketball court. If you can't give Jokic as the example, if you can't give Jokic his 3rd MVP because he doesn't have a championship, or you can't give him 3 straight because the last person to do it was Larry Bird, then we're at a point where we're not giving the awards to the person who deserves it. We're trying to manufacture legacies,
and it's demeaning the award too. On top of that,
yeah,
that's what it's doing.
You can't manufacture legacies. You can't not give someone an MVP because you don't think his legacy should justify it. At that point, then you're not letting someone.
Or because you ain't ready to talk about him with this other guy.
That shouldn't be how it. That shouldn't be how.
And that's exactly what happened with Joker on that 3rd MVP. It was people who weren't ready to have that conversation. That's why.
But see, when you get on TV and say things like that, I'm not gonna give it because I'm not ready. You should immediately have your vote taken away. There should be no discussion. You no longer are allowed to vote. You've lost your right to vote. You can't vote no more. You know what I'm saying? When you say shit like that on TV, everybody can hear you, bro. Like, it's not like you're not talking to your mind. When you let your intrusive thoughts win and come out your mouth, yeah, bro, you're done. You're cooked. You should never be able to vote again.
Motive said, just curious, seriously, not trying to be divisive, but if you guys had to guess who on the panel watches the most basketball throughout the season. I mean, Ox watches the women's game. Ox watches the women's game, so he's watching, and he watches college.
I watch college and women's games too.
Oh, I didn't.
And high school, and
yeah. See, so in total basketball, I'd probably assume Ox, but I didn't know about Penn's.
I'm more of a fan of the I'm more of a fan of the pro game than I am the college game. So I don't watch the college game as much. I'd be lying if I said I did because I don't.
Yeah, I'd assume it's Ox.
If I had to guess, I would guess either myself or Jordan. I would guess one of us watches the most basketball.
I mean, I think
it's just up here today, but
I just really do this basketball shit. You know what I'm saying, Pen? Like,
that's why you're gonna win the PCL too.
All right, don't play much.
I believe in you because that first round that you had, I was like, this is a new Ox.
Ox hasn't sat on a couch in a week, but he watching more basketball than me. All right,
yeah, he stands up.
I don't have to sit down and watch like.
Okay. Folding chair like a psycho. Okay, got you.
He locked in. Mad Max asked, when have the voters been like really wrong? I mean, in 2015 Finals MVP.
Yes, 100%. In 2017, James not making all defensive team and finishing top 5 and defensive player of the year.
When else have they been really wrong?
They just
it depends on what award we're talking about. If I'm being honest. I think Marcus Smart's DPOY was wrong, but
who like fences Pen like yesterday when they was doing the playback. I was watching the playback game and I was in the deep freezer. I'm saying have my North Face on.
See, he just finds ways to watch basketball. That's when you know you commit. It's easy to watch basketball when you ain't got nothing else to do but watch basketball. When you doing other things and you still finding ways to watch basketball, that's when you
Not the deep freezer, the walk-in freezer. I know what I'm talking about.
Close enough.
I think that in 21, really quickly, Mars, because I'm put that back up there. I think in 21 they got the 21, 22. They got the defensive player of the year wrong. I don't think it was Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
I think they got that wrong. I think that was Bam.
Oh, chill.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
they got
show
that
Marcus some love, man.
Nah, he
do
deserved
feel Marcus
love
some
on
love.
our defensive team for sure.
Yes.
SMN RNDM said, Penn, why do you got to turn every subject into a philosophical one? Come on, man, just talk hoop and stop talking about the deeper meaning of life.
Man,
Cool.
we like talking about life up here, man. Penn,
Be
don't
surprised if you listen to
Don't
Penn,
stop
you'll
there.
learn something. If you actually listen to Penn, you might learn something. But I don't want to hold us up.
I feel like basketball could be a great, if we're spending all this time following a sport, I would hope that us following a sport could actually enrich our lives in a deeper way. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you might learn
absolutely.
something about leadership from Jimmy Butler. You might learn something about integrity from Steph Curry. I don't know. Like, I mean, it's just, I think basketball is a great metaphor for life. So yeah.
No, Penn, you know what John Wooden used to say, you live your life on the court the way you live your life off the court. You know
I
what I'm
agree with
saying?
that. I agree with that.
It's the same thing. If you want to take care of your stuff off the court, you're not going to take care of your stuff on the court. That's straight from John Wooden.
Fair enough.
NP13 said, I wouldn't trust Stephen A to tell me anything about basketball. He comes from a dead media concept, newspaper journalism, and that reflects his ethic towards the game. He's all buzz terms, headlines, and nasty propaganda.
100%.
I'm not. I don't listen to. I'm not gonna say I don't listen to anyone. I'll listen to anyone say anything about basketball, but that doesn't mean like I take into account what you're saying. But I'll hear anyone out.
Yeah,
but then once
you let it in go in 1 year, but it might just go.
Yeah,
right
like I'll hear anyone out about basketball,
Mm.
but that doesn't mean that I'll take into account what you're saying.
I know bullshit when I hear it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, thank you.
I know bullshit when I hear it. So
you simplified it way better than I could.
Mhm.
Cowboy Bob said, Penn, now you see why I picked Jarrett Allen. You have to watch to know about non-top players, but the masses can't understand the whole game, so they play favorites.
Yeah,
I mean, I still think Chet Holmgren was right there.
We can blow through the rest of these, Mars.
Absolutely. His guess, this is about who watches the most basketball. He said, my guess 1, Mars, 2, Penn, 3, Chill, 4, Swiper, 5, Ron, 6, Ox. Yeah, I think that's definitely wrong. I highly doubt I watch the most basketball. Maybe most NBA basketball, maybe old basketball games, maybe me, but total basketball, no. Ox be watching every part of basketball. Ox will go watch people play at the park. Like, Ox will just go watch basketball. So
I really do. I was at the gym just the other day watching some like junior college, high school kids, open gym. You know,
yeah. Ox for sure got me beat on that one. Alan R said Nick Wright definitely knows ball. He's just a glazer. Everything I hear from Nick Wright is just a bunch of takes that I could get from the box score, and I mean that. Like everything Nick Wright says, I could look at the box score for a game and say the exact same things he says. Like,
I don't know, Mars. Sound like somebody writing it down for me. He
doesn't strike me as maybe that's just the way TV is, but he doesn't strike me as someone who's saying anything that can't be gotten from the box score. So that's just my thoughts on that. Duke Jail said, and people called the Thunder the black eye of the league a few years ago.
That's true.
Nice.
A lot of people.
Duke Giles also became a member right after he sent that super chat. Teddy Hart said some voters have a vested or subconscious interest in preserving their historical favorites at the expense of current players. It's the reason Jokic didn't win 3 straight MVPs because of Bird, or why Bron didn't win DPOY in 12. I think he meant 13. But yes, that's what I'm saying about manufacturing legacies. People are. It's harder to win awards now because you're comparing them to the players of the past who didn't have to compare against the players of the past. Larry Bird could win 3 straight MVPs because they weren't comparing Larry Bird to Larry Bird. Jokic couldn't win 3 MVPs because they were comparing Jokic to Larry Bird, who won 3 MVPs in a row. So it's like you're comparing players to the larger sample of NBA history that didn't exist when those previous players were winning them. And I think you can't manufacture legacies like that. That's weird. DSG Piccolo said, I say BS all the time, but one ball take I'm not wrong about is that Jeremy Grant is a terrorist on the court. Mars, you had him over Zion. Damn. Yeah, I was wrong.
But what's the big deal? I said Giannis.
No, because that one was bad. Like
Mars, I said Giannis was a better playmaker than Joker.
That was bad.
I said Giannis was a better playmaker than Joker. Come on, man, let's go.
It was bad, man. But DBZ Stay said, "Go Unc BTA to SDSU, proving haters wrong."
Well, that's one way to maximize your $2 super chat.
Found a way.
Go UNC.
Yeah,
I
so
forgot the other one.
North Carolina
Wednesday.
destroyed San Diego State. They were
They
winning by
smoked them.
40. Yeah, they were winning
Yeah,
by
they
40
smoked
at
them.
one point.
Mhm.
Football breakdown said, I think this playoffs is legacy defining for Giannis. Is it?
I think so too. Yeah. Mhm.
And then the final boss said, why was Mars debating a ghost yesterday? Because I'm a killer. Grr.
That's fine.
Anyway, PCL today. Penn versus Finesse Wares, Pirate versus Brax, and ZZ versus Rib. Tap into that. Playback
Starts
later
at 7
tonight,
o'clock Eastern time.
7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Penn. Playback after that, Denver versus Lakers game. You will see Penn and you will see Chill there. For everything else, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you guys for watching. And we will